All right, everybody. Welcome back to Nobody Named Kevin. We are on episode 14. And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And check us out in the future. Let's jump into this, boys.
All right, bro. Once again, nobody in the room named Kevin, correct?
Never.
Not at all.
All right, good deal. And we're off to a good start already with the branding.
Dude, so did you guys hear about the new law in Texas today?
Nope.
Yes.
So they have, yes. So they have the 6 weeks ban on abortion now. And no rape or incest exception. No exception for that.
So wait,
Wait.
describe it. You say 6 week, like you can only get it within the first 6 weeks?
I believe so, if I understood it correctly.
Your first 6 weeks from your last period, which at that point, most pregnancies don't even know they're pregnant yet.
Yeah, that was another
because
thing,
they have to wait the 4 to miss the first one to be like,
so,
I think I'm pregnant.
Yeah, you truly only have about 2 weeks, but yes, 6 weeks after that, and then incest and rape. So like if that took place, I didn't read any deeper. It didn't say anything about underage people, like if that took place, but it just said there's no exceptions.
Yeah,
I don't know. Living in a free country.
Do you want to know why they're doing it?
Why? I do not want to know why, though. I don't know why.
How is the Supreme Court slatted right now? It's 7-3
heavily conservative.
In front of conservatives. So it's the same thing that they're doing in Alabama. They're just trying to do whatever they can to get a case to the Supreme Court so they can try to overturn Roe v. Wade.
Oh,
so dude, that is the only reason why they're doing it. They're trying to do whatever they can to get it back to the Supreme Court so that they can get the ruling in their favor. So
here's what was funny to me about the abortion law one day after. Okay, so governor, he does a reverse mandate, and by that I mean no one is allowed to mandate masks now in Texas. It's a my body, my choice. The very next day, you're not allowed to get an abortion. It's no longer your body, your choice. That's what was funny to me about the situation. It went from like, he's like, to go liquor is good to go forever. I'm like, yes. No one's allowed to mandate masks. Cool, whatever, with it. But then you just throw this other one out of left field. It's like, dude, like that was what happened. You're on a hot streak.
So wait, what's his mandate on nobody's allowed to mandate masks?
Basically,
does he mean like state, like cities, towns, and stuff like that can't mandate it?
Yeah, like you can't get fined for not wearing one. You can't be imposed upon you outside of like, there's like certain restrictions, but basically like.
I'd assume private business would be one of those restrictions.
Yeah.
That's what I'd be interested to see. Because if he doesn't, it's like, okay. It's very hypocritical because everyone remembers the gay bakery thing. It's like, oh well, it's that business's choice. It's like, okay, well, I mean, if our choice is that we want you to wear a mask, you have to wear a mask, right?
And I could see that point. What makes it situational is it's Texas. Already nobody wants to wear one.
Yeah.
So even if it is a restriction of private business, it's like they don't care. You're like. Every restaurant I walk into is like, you just don't wear it. And Texans just don't want to. Like Mark Norman has a good joke about this. He was doing a set, and I think it was in Austin. He's like, man, I wore my mask down here and I got all these weird looks. He's like, wearing a mask in Texas is like bringing a helmet to a skate park. It's like you're concerned about yourself, but everybody thinks you're a pussy.
Mm-hmm. Dude, it's super weird,
true.
Bro. I don't get the whole, like, why everyone in Texas just caters to that belief. Like, I don't understand why the culture is like that.
In what sense? I like the freedom idea that we kind of hold. The idea of it, at least. Maybe not execution in all senses, but I like the idea of, like, yeehaw stuff.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I love Texas and the fact that we're very much about personal freedom and stuff like that. But like, it literally comes
except
down
when it comes to abortions.
Oh yeah, very, very true. But when it comes down to like the mask thing, I'm like, dude, like I said when we covered it before, I'm like, I don't understand why it's such a big deal for people. It's like literally they buck because it's like they have to have a problem with anything they're told to do. But like, I wonder if a mandate had never happened, if a majority of people would have started wearing them anyways in Texas.
And that's probably not in Texas, but that's what I agree with. Why is it when you're told to wear a mask, fight the power, this is just a snowball effect, you can't get an abortion? It's like, that's right. We're the God-loving state. It's like, what?
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, you could go through either side. Like, don't get me wrong. Democrats have a lot of hypocrisy in there as well.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, don't get me wrong on that. But it's when it's so blatantly obvious is when I'm like, okay, I don't understand your thought process on this. Like, are we for personal liberty or no? Or are we only allowed to have personal liberty when it favors everyone, but when it comes to something we all like feel strongly about, personal liberty goes right out the window?
It is a weird thing because of course voting is the majority rule or whatever the case, but I think it's like, why is that one? Like, that's the thing about abortion. For some reason, every time it gets brought up, I still feel the religious undertones. Because I was just thinking the other day, like someone posted on one of my Facebook feeds, it was like arguing about the separation between church and state. And I'm like, I don't hear that argument anymore. Like, our generation has grown up so much, like, and then the next generation coming in, I don't see that a problem as our generation moves up and takes power. And the next one even, I'm like, that's an argument. And then this abortion thing happens, and there's certain people in my social media sharing like, yay, no more. It's like, it's a religious undertone thing. So I'm like, I thought we were past that.
My thing is like, no matter how you feel about abortion, even if you take like religious undertones out of it, it's still a rough argument. Like, either way, it just depends on how you view the starting of a fetus, right? Because like, dude, like, it's a complex thing of like, okay, when do you decide that it's allowed to have choice and that you have to let it go at that point? Because like, I mean, okay, is it when it has a heart? Is it when it has a brain? Is it once we see brain activity? Like, where do we draw the line? Like, that's my thing. Like, I don't know. My thing is, I like it how it is now. Like, leave it alone. Let's just let it ride. Like, why are we still arguing about this issue when clearly no one has an answer that everyone's going to agree upon? Why do we have to keep fighting over it? Why can't we just leave it how it is and leave it up to personal choice? Like, we have laws that I think that are somewhat within reason, and most people would agree with, okay, they're somewhat in reason. Why do we, like, let's leave it alone?
I mean, yeah, and argument, also, like you said, personal freedom, and leave it up to the individual's choice, and also like the medical professional or doctor's discretion, whatever you want to say. Like, I mean, it's not like people can just like walk in and be like, I want one. And they're like, all right, that sounds good. Walk in the back here.
I almost want to say why it's being brought up now. Like, just thought of it and just kind of clicked in my brain. Think it might be the Republicans trying to distance themselves from Trump and try to get a win on their side that doesn't have anything to do with Trump.
I don't see that.
To try to pull their base back in.
They unseated Liz Cheney from Minority Leader, I believe. I'm not sure which one, but because she was saying that the insurgency did happen, and a lot of people are saying no, it didn't happen. Still,
I think
you're going against Trump. So
I think it's because like, here's the thing: the Trump voter base, as much as we all like, I don't think any of us personally thought very highly of Trump. We might have been like okay with him, like whatever. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like it's just that voting group was so strong and so loyal that they're just trying to, like, kind of distance themselves, get a win on the Republican side, and kind of distance a little bit.
I mean,
because like the biggest thing with the Republicans is they want to move past January 6th. They don't want to hear about it anymore. They want it to be over. That's distancing tactics. Like, I don't think it has anything to do with like, oh, well, they're going against Trump. I think it's more just let's distance ourselves from that situation. So when the next election cycle comes up, we don't have that argument anymore. We are so far from it that we're going to be like, well, what are you talking about?
Well, that's a fair point. It's a fair perspective to take. I think so. Also with the personal liberty argument of when you say my body, my choice. So the angle they take against you when you say that personal liberty, the angle they take against you is that it's not your body, it's someone else's body.
Mm-hmm.
But the argument to that is like, what's growing inside your body?
Yeah. So my argument my thing with that would be like, because like, okay, let's say that happens. All right, fine. I should be able to get rid of all culpability then. Like, if you're like, oh, well, we can't have that happen. Okay, if my argument to that would be if I take it out of my body and you can't do anything to keep it sustaining life and growing and becoming into an adult, it's not. It's my body at that point. My body is building it.
That's what I like the argument of, pro-choice and pro-life, and really it's pro-choice, pro-birth. Like, as long as it's born, that's all they like. I mean, after
they don't care about anything after that.
Yeah,
they do nothing to fund the systems that would take care of it.
The next argument would be, well, it's personal responsibility and all that. And then my argument would be, I mean, if those people were trying to get an abortion in the first place, they don't care about that child. Like, what do you think? They're responsible. They're not thinking about that at all. They're just going to throw it, leave it in the fire station, give it to, an orphanage, whatever. I don't know.
Like, I just don't get the argument of like why it has to be an argument. Like, let's just leave it alone. Like, I don't feel like I haven't heard like an actual abortion debate in forever. Nobody talks about it. So why are we bringing it up now?
It came out of nowhere.
And that's what was weird too. Like, I was like, dude, the last time I argued with someone about this, I think it was like 16. So it was like 9, almost 10 years ago. So like, I didn't even, it didn't cross my mind until today. And so the person I argued with brought up, they thought that it was the nail in the coffin, but it was not the nail in the coffin. They're like, well, what if you got aborted? And immediately I was like, okay, then I wouldn't be here having this conversation. I would have been somebody else. I mean, I don't know how that destroys the argument.
I think their argument they're trying to make is kind of like, so
like you value
some
your
people
life
that
now.
Yeah, I mean, some people are like, even if they're left on the street as a child, it can still grow up to be this great thing or person that affects other lives. It can still happen, I think that's like the argument.
And there's people that are right, and there's people that are well off that do nothing.
They're also.
So like, what do you mean? Like, we can just play hypothetical all day. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. Like, we can play hypothetical all day.
That's why like it feels so out of left field from the Republicans. Like, that's why I think it literally comes down to the fact that I think they're trying to distance from Trump. Like, that would just make sense to me. Resonate back to the core of that base.
I don't know, man.
Maybe.
Some of those people think he's still the president. We had a person in one of our locations the other week say that he's still president. It just has not been announced yet. And he is going to forgive all credit card debt. So she got multiple credit cards recently, like somewhere around 5 or 6. She's maxing all of them out. There is going to be military drills to ensure that the public stays calm and civil. The military's going to be around. They're going to announce that he's still in charge. Okay. He's going to forgive all. He's going to forgive all credit card debt.
Hold on. So
all debt.
Hold on. With the credit card debt thing, this is the thing that like super irks me about those people that love to argue like, oh, unemployment shouldn't be a thing. It's like, as soon as a system comes out that you can exploit, they look to exploit it. It's like, oh, I heard he's going to pay off all credit card debt, so I should max out 9 different credit cards so that the government pays it off. And it's like, you are literally the freeloader in this situation that you hate so much. So it's cool when everyone, it's like a shooter, man. It's cool when you do it, but when someone else does it, it's messed up. You don't do that. That's wrong.
But that's the thing. That's human nature.
Don't
You're going to
exploit
use
that
your
way.
advantages.
Yeah, exploit my way. My exploitation's okay. Yeah,
that's what bugs me is the hypocrisy of the exploitation. It's like, dude, for me, rationally, the way I look at those systems that get exploited is I'm like, to me, I do the mental math of like, do I consider, like, if this helps this many people, even though this many people are taking advantage of it, is it a worth it system to me? And sometimes it is a yes, like food stamps and stuff like that. It's like, hey, it may not be for everyone. Like, a lot of people do it and they just feed off the system and they're a leech on society. Hey, I get that. But there are those people that hit a hard time, fell back on that system, and were able to get themselves back on their feet because of that system.
My thing is, like, when you have an individual who walks amongst us, that their reality is so warped that way. They believe someone else is still in charge. They believe that he is going to announce removal of credit card debt. There was like 2 or 3 other beliefs that were completely just off the wall. When that person is so twisted that there's no point in engaging in a discussion, because already, like, when someone has a different idea than you, you're like, probably can't change their mind. When someone is that far off the rocker, you're like, I don't even want to say hi to you. Dude. Like, there's no coming back from everything you think. Because when she is maxed out in debt, she's going to keep telling herself, like, oh, it just keeps getting pushed back. It keeps getting pushed back. She said that twice already. She's like, it's supposed to be this date, but Mother's Day came up, so they postponed it. And it's supposed to be this date, and then something with the weather, so they postponed it. I'm like, they don't need to postpone. They don't need to postpone a national announcement. We have TVs. We have computers. There's no weather delay for the television.
Dude. So
that's not hard to hop on. He could literally announce on Instagram Live. There's not really limitations anymore.
So it's speaking about weird people who don't follow logic at all. So I had someone ask me about 5G today. And like, so what are they saying about 5G? It's like, in what context? I knew what rabbit hole it was going down, but I was not going to be the one to do it. Like, part of me would just want to be like, yeah, they say it gives you better signal, so much better coverage, like just the talking points. And she was like, health-wise. I was like, I haven't heard anything on it. I was like, to my knowledge, it's completely safe. But, like, in my mind, what I don't get and what's making me laugh about it is they're so apprehensive to buy 5G compatible phones. Do they not understand how signals work? Like, regardless of whether you have a device that picks up and tells you that you have that signal's still being blasted to you.
Dude.
Like, dude, the logic on people. Like, how can you not follow this? Do you think it is only around when you have the specific thing? Like, do you not understand basic science?
And again, the premise of the question, me, random guy on the totem pole, they're going to tell them, if there was an inside secret, if there was a health condition, they're not telling me.
Why would they?
I am the last person they're telling.
Well, my best part is, like, even if they did tell me, they obviously trust me enough to tell me, so why would I tell you? Like, I only stand to benefit, so what?
Let's keep it a buck. Even if I knew my commission and my well-being is on the line, you're getting the 5G. I don't really.
Dude, it's just people's logic, bro. It blows my mind.
So one time, talking about people thinking they're getting it on the secret, like a health secret, I had a lady sit down and, it was big, like during the pandemic. And she's like, so, there's already cures out. It was before the vaccine. She's like, there's already cures out there for COVID. And I'm like, oh, yeah. She's like, yeah, you can actually go get you some at Tractor Supply. I'm like, what? And she was like, yeah, I'll show you some. And she had it in her purse, and she pulled out this long tube. She's like, it's horse dewormer. And you just take some of this. My doctor said it'll clear you out. You won't get COVID. I'm like, oh, wow. And she's like, yeah, she's like, me and my husband have been taking it for about a week now. I'm like, oh, wow.
Dude,
that's terrible.
This is what's funny to me is that's still the same person bucking the mask.
Yes.
That's what blows my mind. Is it's like we freaked out. We had people drinking, like ingesting bleach, taking like fish medicine and stuff like that, all because they were so scared of it. And then as soon as the mask mandate comes out, they 180 and it's not real anymore.
Yeah. What the heck?
It's like if you're not scared of it, if it's not real, you know what I mean? Yeah. And here's the thing, I don't care about the mask, but I don't want to be lumped in with the people like that. I'm like, I don't take horse dewormer. I don't eat fish food. Well, I just don't care about the mask.
Can y'all imagine? Can you imagine what the country would have been like? Kind of like what Clayton just said. If the rhetoric was flipped. If the government came out and was like, no, COVID's not real. Like, China is just trying to tell us it's not real. Everyone would be like, it's real. Put your mask on. It's a fucking coup.
Dude, that's the whole point, dude. Like, if we would have convinced people, like, if from the beginning Trump was like, this is an attack on the rest of the world by China, everyone would be like, that seems like something China would do. That's exactly what they would do. That's ingenious. I would have done the same thing.
It's the distrust in the government that's growing and growing. That's why you had Fauci doing interviews with YouTubers. You had it on Phil EV. You had him on every influencer's podcast doing interviews. You had him throwing the first pitch at a baseball game.
Yeah, whatever.
So, I mean,
what is that?
Don't be working on the cure. I need you at the Phillies game, getting some hot dogs and tossing one back with the boys.
So, dude, speaking of not trusting the government, so on the subject of not trusting the government, so with the situation with Israel and Palestine, Palestine, but it's Hamas is who they're saying is doing it, which is the U.S., like Great Britain and a couple other NATO countries declare them as like a terrorist organization, but the UN denied that they were a terrorist organization. So essentially, from what I was reading, this is honestly not out of the norm for Israel and Hamas when it comes to stuff. It essentially, like, I think one of their wars, everyone's like, dude, we do not condone the killing of civilians. But the way they both say it, it's like, no, it's retaliation. They killed our civilians first. So now it's just being seen and everyone's like, oh, Israel's not as great as we thought. Israel's the bad guys. In actuality, they all attack citizens. It's just Israel is way better at it.
Dude,
it's a slow news week. It's a slow news week is what you're saying, really. This has been going on.
So my thing isn't that it's out of the norm or anything like that, because it's not. Like, this was happening in the 90s and stuff like that. They constantly had conflicts and wars and stuff like that. And I think Hamas said, like, the only way that we'll ever sign a treaty with Israel is if they go back to the 1967 standing of their country and go back to those borders. They give rights to Palestinian refugees. Like, they are like, oh, we are not compromising on this. So not trusting the government, because like back in the day, everyone was on Israel's side, at least from the U.S. From the most I could see, we just weren't happy that we were funding them and stuff like that. And now that they're doing the same thing, no one's on Israel's side because they don't trust our government anymore. They don't trust the way we side anymore. Because, like, back in the day, like, the only reason we're in Israel in general, why we pump the money, is there are, like, leapfrog into the Middle East. Like, if we ever need to get into the Middle East or we need to know what's going on in the Middle East, Israel is our way to do that because we're the only one shilling tons of money to them.
That was going to be my question. I was like, so why are we over there? Like, do we not have all the oil yet? Like, what's the holdup here? Like,
so,
and then
it's oil, but it's also controlling our interest in oil there. So like, oh, we've pulled out of like Afghanistan, Iraq, stuff like that. We've done massive pullouts, but okay, that's more reason for us to throw money at Israel so that we can see what's going on there, so we can make sure that tap doesn't get cut off.
Yeah, I mean, and also I always think like this is a little off topic. Well, it's part of it, but how do you even deal with like it's basically a civil war, right? Or am I wrong in saying that? Is it close to, or it's like right on, just people arguing over borders?
The neighboring war.
So to a degree, like Gaza's always being fought, is like typically always being fought over between them. That always seems to be the place of contention. And I want to say Hamas was the last ones to hold it. Like, they hold it and control it right now, and Israel's just finally like, nah, we're taking it back.
So, I mean, I wouldn't even know. Like, I always think, like, if we had a civil war here in America, or if Mexico decided to say, like, hey, we own Texas again, like, no one else in the world can really be like, yeah, we can come in and settle this for you, or we're going to, like, that's between the two parties. I don't know.
So that's
a very delicate situation.
So here's the thing is, like, it seems delicate, but, like, at the end of the day, because of the way, like, the tribal systems worked and all that in the Middle East, like, because the Hamas are, like, Sunni Islamic, I want to say, if I remember correctly. But that's the thing. Israel was, or like the Middle East was all just a bunch of tribes with a warlord, and the warlord kept them in check. That's what Saddam was. Like, that was his job, was to keep those players in check, and he did it for a long time until he finally was like, nah, I've had enough of America, and then America was like, all right, we'll rip you out of power. And then it causes a power vacuum, and we see all this happening. But Israel and, like, Hamas, like, I want to say the reason why they could, like, the U.S. wants to declare Hamas a terrorist organization is because they used to do, like, I don't know if they've done it recently, but they used to do, like, suicide bombings and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't know. It's super weird. But like you were saying, like, with Texas and Mexico, dude, Mexico has no interest of ever doing that to us.
No, I know. I was just trying to think of like a comparison of like that would be like it like this.
We would
bad blood, bad history coming up, you know, and like where did this? I don't know. If something like that. Who else would
for us, it's not like conquering the land anymore. Like, back in the day, it used to be like, oh, we go to war, I take your land. Like, when you look at Germany, like, we are occupying this land, it is ours, you will follow our rules and everything like that. Whereas for us, anytime we invade a place, all right, we took out the seat of power. Oh, we're going to be very democratic. See, we're the good guys because we're going to let them decide. Like, if we did that in Mexico, okay, cool, the cartels are taking over. Like, the cartels are the next in line to take over if we dethrone leadership. Like, if we took out all of Mexico's military leaders and stuff like that, easily they come in and become corrupt.
It's a lot more high class now. I agree. Like, you go in, you take over the companies, or you take over the largest, you know, business interests now. It's less tribal than I'm going to blow you up and take your backyard. It's like,
economic
we're going to own your, there you go. We're going to own your infrastructure. We're going to own your money flow. But again, no interest in it. There's enough going on. No, I agree. I think the only weird thing, the thing that strikes me is like seeing some of that news is like, it makes you kind of be like, you know what? Going to work ain't that bad because I don't walk outside my house worrying that a bomb's going to hit my neighbor and it's going to kill me and my family. So, like, that's one of those things. It's like you don't live inside of war. You're just kind of like, work sucks, but I'm not inhaling, you know, the dust of a building and bombs going off.
Well, like, the same thing is, too, is, like, it's a never-ending thing, right? Like, this war will, like, never truly end because, like, every time, like, of it, like, let's say Israel does defeat Hamas. There's going to be all of those people that weren't a part of Hamas who got struck by Israel. They're going to hold a grudge. They're going to form a group, and we have another terrorist organization again. Like, it's always what happens because of the fodder and the people that get caught in the middle and honestly did no wrong, and they're not wrong to feel the way that they feel. Like, they messed up, but, I mean, it's something that's probably never going to end. It will never see a full end to it.
I mean, dude, I think something that's even more important is like, at least geopolitical wise, is China trying to make a move on Taiwan. and then Russia being on Ukraine's border and trying to take them, or at least being aggressive towards them. That's two major powers trying to potentially push out like their,
it's not really
their territory.
It's the best I can put it is it's like a game of chicken. Like I saw a video on the fact that like war doesn't truly make sense. Like nation v nation war doesn't make truly sense for big powers like Russia, China, and the United States, because the amount of money that would be thrown into it and the amount of damage done, no one really wins. So it's more like playing a game of chicken of like, how far are you going to let us go? Like, what are you willing to cut off sanction wise, and kind of figuring out what do we need? What do you need? It's like the same thing with like cyber attacks with China, like China cyber attacking us, or Russia like cyber attacking us and us cyber attacking them. Like, it happens all the time. It's just a game of chicken to see what we can get away with. It's like, oh, we're going to always try to stay one leg up on each other. But in my mind, I don't ever see us ever going back to full-fledged war. We're like, oh, you're taking Taiwan, are you? Okay, well, we're going to sanction you as hard as we can. Like, there'll be so many things that go on. The question is really, like, who needs who more? Like, if we cut off China fully, are we able to sustain ourselves? Or if China cuts us off fully, are they able to fully sustain themselves? Because we're like, that's just it. As much as we're like, oh, we really don't like them, it's like, okay, well, if we don't like them, how come we do so much trading? Like, how come we're not trying to be independent from them?
Dude, and even another reason to not like China is they have straight up concentration camps in their country. It was like a big reason, people to dislike Nazis because of what they did to the Jews. And right now in China, there's concentration camps. If you are Muslim in China, they put you in these camps, and there's videos of it, dude. They all have these jumpsuits. They do slave labor. And that's how China, a lot of labor that come, or like jobs that come from America, is done with slave labor, so China can reap the profits. Supposedly, a lot of these corporations don't know about it, but
like
I was able to find out about it. So
here's the thing.
I would say the same.
Here's the thing with
dude, it's really bad.
Like the left, though, like, okay, well, how do we fix that problem? Oh, well, we tell them to stop. Well, like, we tell them to stop, they don't care. So our next step is war, and nobody wants that, because like if any of the major powers go to war with each other, it's going to be bloodbath on both sides. Nobody really wins from that. We just weaken each other.
Or would it just be cyber warfare?
Maybe. Well, there's that. But maybe we've come to terms. We've kind of accepted, like, hey, we got kids in cages too. You got people in cages. We just call it what it is. Maybe you give us a better deal on the imports. Like, maybe it's just they've kind of just come to terms like this is life. This is how it works.
The only thing is we're not using them for slave labor.
I think
not yet, and not that you know of.
I think it's mainly that it's just more.
We use prisoners for slave labor.
We just keep it like it's between ourselves. Like I feel like the government powers probably don't actually care about that. They're just like, hey, we're going to publicly denounce this, but, we're going to make sure this, and this is good. Like, we're not going to go to war, right? Yeah, we're not going to go to war. Okay, cool. Hey, make sure I still get this by Monday. I know you don't like it. It's like any business that has, like, fraud associated with it. The higher-ups know, but it's an understood agreement of, like, if you get caught, it's on you, bro, but I'm not going to do anything for you. Okay, I'm not going to do anything to attack you.
Yeah. I was about to say, it's just the corporate side of it of like,
Yeah, I want to say on the prisoner thing, okay, but we pay to house and feed them and put them, like, our taxes have to pay for the most public prisons at least. I mean,
okay,
I wouldn't consider it slave labor, but like, all right, you're doing your time, dude, whatever.
Okay, hold on.
It's just like community service when you get a ticket. You don't get paid for that.
Okay, I like your perspective. We're also probably paying for those kids in the cages. Should they be making my license plate or making my iPhone?
No. They're not serving time for committing a crime.
So why are they in cages?
Very technically, they did commit a crime. They illegally crossed borders. Yes. It doesn't matter what age you are. You crossed a border. Like that. Like, very technically, it's a crime.
If you're like 5 years old and your parents take you across a border, yeah, you made that decision. No.
So Okay, I don't think we should put the crime on them, but I'm saying if this isn't slave labor, why is this?
My argument is this.
I see what you're saying, Clayton.
Very technically, it is a crime. Like, there's a reason why it's called illegal immigration.
Yes, I understand that, but the children, like, why would I don't understand saying that like slave labor for them is okay if it's okay for prisoners. That doesn't add up to me.
No, I'm not saying this. I'm asking you I'm saying what's the difference of like why is it okay if you're a prisoner to do slave labor, but we have slave labor, we have kids in cages we're also paying for, because your perspective is like, well, we're paying for that, we're paying for this too.
Well, yeah, true, okay, but prisoners are supposed to be rehabilitated, and I don't think they get paid like 10 cents on the hour that goes in their
that's not rehabilitation. That's like exploitation. Like your whole argument was like, yeah, I mean, it's but they did crimes against us and we pay for them, so they should have to do it. It's like, it depends on
what about community service? Isn't that the same idea? You don't get paid for that. They're like, hey, you drove drunk, you have to go to this court every week using your gas money and show up whether we show up or not, and then you got to go pick up trash for
here's
40
the difference,
hours a week
though.
And not get paid for it.
Most of the time, like, it's never, hey, you're sentenced to community service. It's, hey, you get the option of doing this and being on parole for a little bit, and then we let you go, or we send you to jail for 3 months. And guess what? You can't work in jail because it's a county jail. County jails don't do jobs.
But if you get sent to work, not my problem. You had the choice. What's the difference?
Hold on. Okay, but that's the thing. But that's the whole thing. It's like like you said, there was a trade-off. This will reduce your sentence. I don't want to do it. Okay, you're going to jail and you're going to work anyway. So
it's not no.
But you're saying county jail doesn't.
That's no. The difference is when it comes to county jail, you do not have jobs. You are just there. Okay. So when you bring up the community service,
federal
it's not
or state.
Federal crimes don't have community service, to my knowledge. Like,
no, I'm talking about. Devin said there's slave labor, because I really don't know. Like,
that's when
I know back in the day, prisoners used to work on stuff, but do they still do that now? Like the chain gang.
It's not a chain gang. They'll do it where they make like license plates, or they sew or stuff like that. Like, they have random odd jobs that they make prisoners do, and they pay them very, very cheaply, and they use it as like, well, these products pay for the prison. Like, it's a for-profit prison system.
Yeah,
like,
that's pretty terrible.
That's the huge argument behind like prisons being ran for profit, is like they exploit it. They want to overcrowd it. Like, that's the problem.
Okay, I see your point now. Yeah, it is a lot of people. There's people that are mischarged. People is overcrowded. But I've heard that like some prison systems aren't hitting their quota, and that's like that. Even though immigration and stuff is like a big hot topic, and like we don't want them there, but I feel like some people really do want them there because we're making some money off of it. Like, I heard that's supposed to be like the next.
It's an industrial complex. Yes, yes, dude. They're for profit. They're not for rehabilitation at all whatsoever. Yeah, they are for profit system. They want more people in there. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm saying prison, but also like in the immigration stuff. Like, people say it's a problem, but I almost feel like someone's profiting off of that.
No, my thing is that we're not profiting off it, and that's the problem that we see from it. So like, we're all like, oh, the kids in cages. We all agree that's horrible, but the question is, do we send them back? If we send them back, how do we make sure they get sent to where they're actually going to be taken care of, and that we're not just sending them into the hands of the cartel to become sex slaves or anything like that, or be trafficked, and they're not exploited that way? Or, hey, if we're going to keep them, well, we got to find their next of kin in America somewhere, and then we have to do the same thing. We have to make sure it's a suitable home, because now they're under American standards, so they have to provide certain criteria so the kid's not getting taken away. Or do we just accept that this is going to be a drain on society, and we do immigrant kid orphanages? Like, the option is hard.
That's what I was going to say. Like, orphanage, I mean, I know that word sounds really bad, but maybe let's take them out of the cages and put them in like an actual living space. Put like people who are learning to be teachers in there.
Okay.
And like try to teach them things, and like how much money does it really cost? I always have the idea, we recycle old food from grocery stores. People are gonna say it's inhumane, but screw them. Nope. I eat old chips all the time. There's our food.
That's
shelter,
the problem,
bro.
though.
Like what? Screw those people that say it's inhumane. It's worse to keep them in the cages. Why can't we just like put them in like these empty homes we have sitting around and give them some old cereal and pasta and stuff, dude?
Okay.
I don't know, bro. Like, it's free. It's free. Why are we not make use of this?
Okay, so hold on. Side argument. What about all our homeless people that we can't house? We can't even handle our own problem.
Thing, dude.
Same thing.
Okay.
I agree.
And we got what subject did we get on the last time we went down this rabbit hole, right? We went down the rabbit hole.
It's inhumane.
Because you're treating them as lesser.
But my point is they already live in the street.
So they don't get to deserve to be treated like a human?
Bro, that is being treated like a human.
That is being treated like a human. That is.
Yes, it is.
Is it?
And I agree with you,
because my argument would be going down the rabbit hole. If you are feeding them foods that do not make FDA standards, that can't be sold, so you are giving them lesser product, putting them at risk. There's a reason why those dates are on that.
Dude, I was given expired food at a grocery store as an employee. He was like, you can take whatever you want. Oreos, crackers, cookies. Bro, you can live off that. Hamburger Helper, macaroni. You can eat it for a couple years. Rice, beans.
Okay, and here's the thing. I agree with you, Schwinn. Yeah, orphanages would be the probably better alternative. I can't say best, but the better alternative for that situation. The problem is it hasn't become their problem yet. That's why kids in cages and then concentration camps aren't a big deal anymore, because all of the higher-ups who have the power to pull strings or maybe make something out of it, they're like, it's not me, it's not my kids. I mean, that's just the reality of it. But yes, an orphanage would fix that. Expired food or not, FDA standards or not. The FDA, people associate the FDA with the government, so people already don't trust the FDA. I know people that are like, if the FDA says it's good, I don't do it. So that's fine. That is by all means fine.
Even then, it's also an argument of like, okay, well, we'll put them in these houses. Okay, well, we can't put them in just houses all over the U.S. because it's going to be hard to keep track of them.
No, we wouldn't.
We
build. So we build houses
like a district.
Okay, so we
build, not a house. Don't houses. No. Okay, you want to build a compound. I want to build one big one. You want to build a compound.
Okay.
I want to build one big one.
So the problem with that is, because now we've set that standard, how long until we get too many? And that's not good enough. And now we got to build more, because the moment that we start crumbling on that, more people are going to start coming in. We're going to have more of that. That's going to cost more money. Eventually, your argument of like, oh, well, we'll just feed them food and stuff like that. Cool. Well, there's no more of that. Like, we are at, like, what if we get to capacity? What's your solution then?
That's fine, because that's just a very typical slippery slope, dude, because there's food drives all the time. There's can drives all the time. Those nonprofit organizations are always running and always are in supply. So
we waste
if it is a non right, aside from the wasting food, if we took that food and positioned it that way, there would be no problem.
So honestly, and it would probably be extremely horrible and bloody because they're embedded in America. But like, dude, the only way I think to stop the mass flow of immigration to the U.S. would be going through, and we would have to figure out a way. It would basically be a war against all the cartels and the families that really run those countries, not the countries themselves. It would be like a war on terror, but a war on.
Here's the actual reason why that'll happen, and it won't happen for the reason that you're happy about. So if we ever go to war with Mexico, it's going to be because we found there's a huge lithium deposit down there, which is a very valuable natural resource right now. And China's already hired groups to go in there and try to mine it illegally. Like, the cartels help these groups and stuff like that. So if we ever get involved in Mexico, it will be for that reason. We may give the argument of like, oh, we're going in there to clean it up and everything like that. In actuality, we're going in there to control the resource. So like, while I don't disagree with you, there could be an argument of like we should be a lot more involved in Mexico. The side argument is, dude, we had Marines stationed at the border. Did that stop any immigration? No. How many of those Marines were found to be taking bribes because of the cartel money is so good?
Yeah, I was going to say, it goes back to the not my kids. You know what I mean? So like Mexico, like for a lot of people, like it's not my problem enough. It's like, well, the cartels, I understand, hasn't affected me. You know what I mean? That's just
it does
just
though.
nature.
Like I mean, if people people think it doesn't affect, dude, it affects America. The drug war is the ripple effect, bro. Like Chicago is messed up because of it.
That's not a problem. That's not a problem. It is a problem, human to human. Not a problem. It puts people in prison, which is for profit. Which is
that's all
it
profit.
Puts you in profit.
Elite,
You're in the industrial complex for prison. Not a problem to them. They're like, I'm winning at this. Okay, like I got more chips on my side of the table without doing any work. Why would I care?
Well, so it's kind of this is kind of a weird comparison, but as kind of way off topic. But have y'all heard like the prices of lumber is like skyrocketed exponentially?
Yeah.
Well, supposedly like some of the, I don't know if this is correct, but the people on the top like of these companies were like, instead of us putting forth the money and the resources to open up more lumber yards or more mills or whatever the hell they're called, he's like, we're already offering, like operating at maximum capacity. People are still willing to pay this like 30% hike in price. So we'll just leave it at that. We'll just leave the supply at where it's at. The demand is just going to keep going up and we're going to just rake in profits. Like that, is that kind of like, I mean, is that, well, yeah, it's capitalism at its best, but isn't that capitalism thing or whatever? Like you're just going to, like if there's ever a shortage on something and we get the supply back to regular, normally the price stays back, stays high, even though we have the supply again.
So the argument is that the market will pull back on it eventually. Because, like, in an idea of supply and demand and everything like that, they're going to keep getting greedy and keep raising the prices on lumber. And it doesn't matter how long it takes, but eventually it will happen. But eventually people won't be able to afford the cost of lumber, so it'll start becoming a detriment to them, and the market will balance itself. Like, the idea of capitalism is that no matter what, the system always checks itself. The question is how long the problem with capitalism is it can take a very long time for that market to correct itself. And sometimes it needs a direction in one way or the other.
Yeah, and it's a business decision, man. I mean, you would do the same if you were in charge of lumber yards. Man, we're in the gold rush of our business. We're making a lot of profit. You're not going to expand knowing it's not going to last.
Well, and then on top of that, too,
and again,
if they wanted to make the argument, they could be like, well, this makes it where we can pay these people a whole lot more. We can take better care of our employees.
So that's right. So what do y'all think about this?
So,
so say like this goes on for like 6 months or so. I don't really know how long stuff like this goes on for, but it goes on for like 6 months or so. And so they establish these prices, and they establish, like good things for their employees. So that maybe employees get raises, maybe the board, maybe they get raises, the CEO gets a bonus for the year. It's like everyone's doing good. But then when they get their supply back and like, even if the demand goes down, do you think they would how would they lower that price to meet the market without taking away all that good stuff? Like from the employees, the board, the CEOs, like how would, you know what I mean? Like
so
without leaving it at the price they left it with
jobs.
Originally.
That's what they always do is they cut jobs. Like with any industry, it's never the top taking the cut. It's always the bottom. Like they will just cut jobs and keep try to keep the prices close to what they can manage, and they'll just cut jobs. And they're like, well, we can't afford to pay you this. You're not doing a good enough job. Like think about like Amazon and stuff like that, and how like they pay a decent wage, but they're gonna make sure they get as much work out of you as possible. It would be the same thing. Hey, we pay a really good wage. There's a lot of people that are willing to work a lot harder than you for this job, so you better figure it out. And they'll just cut people who are underperforming until they've reached that balance, and then they'll just have a highly competitive industry there as far as, like, we need really skilled workers that are really good at the job.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day,
because then you got to think outside of how the business plays it, how the market plays it. Which, I mean, I guess is still part of the business, but it's like eventually someone's like, okay, these prices aren't going to last. We're not selling as much. Let's say it's going for $40. Some other competitor's like, it's not selling as much, man. I'm going to take mine back down to $30. Cool. Now that product's selling. Now the competitor's like, crap. I'm going to take mine down to $28. Other competitor comes in. I'm going to take mine down to $27. That's just like, it just goes back to the cat and mouse, or really a game of chicken of like,
yeah.
That's how that kind of turns back out of it, of like, well, the competitor's going to be like, I want the advantage. I'm going to charge less.
Yeah, you essentially just like, there's so many ways that the system in capitalism is supposed to check itself. There's a lot of factors that can pull into it and check it. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at it.
Just in our industry alone, they all watch each other's promotions. They all watch each other's overall average price, and they always compete with each other. So that's just one industry, But one way a lot of people are competing now is like, because we're going through a very weird time of like, a lot of people had to move back home because of the pandemic, because maybe they lost their job or fell on hard times. And now it's like, people can be more selective with their jobs. So there's like the one argument of people don't want to work. The other argument is like, we just don't want to work for you. So now there's this competitive landscape of the jobs right now. Bank of America announced they're going to make their minimum wage $25 by 2025 over the next 4 years. But they're going to make their minimum wage $25. Their minimum wage is going to be $50K a year. And then another company, I think it was Graph Payments, or at least the CEO of Graph Payments shared it. He's like, we're doing 4-day work weeks. Productivity went up. Employer intention was at an all-time high. People don't want to leave because they have a 4-day work week. Quality of life went up. Like there was only there was a small margin of employees who didn't enjoy it, but it's just like nothing compared to the positive.
I mean, even in that, it's also like, so this could be the Republican argument as to why we don't ever need to raise minimum wage. The market will correct itself, and that could be exactly what we're seeing right now. Is the market's correcting itself? The employees are like, hey, this is a bit ridiculous. We've done this long enough. The system needs a change. Figure it out.
Yep. And I think that's a good thing. I truly hope they don't set a new federal minimum wage, because it'll mess all of this up. I mean, just like you're talking like big levels like banks and stuff, even on the lower levels like Panda Express, 14 an hour. Like that's ridiculous. Like it is checking it. It's taking a little bit, but like Wagner said, it's getting there. It's going to get there in a better way on its own without the government stepping in and being like, we know how to do this. We're just going to do it right now, and just cause a huge problem.
So that's exactly so like, as much as I know you lean left, that's a lot of the arguments that the Republicans give when it comes to their economic policies. They're just like, it will figure itself out.
I agree. I honestly agree. Like the more I'm seeing, I'm agreeing more to that side with that aspect of it economically. But yeah.
So yeah, like the $25 an hour, and that's supply and demand, because there's a demand for labor and there's not enough supply. So we're like, okay, I'll pay you this. No, I'll pay you this. So that's like when that meets, you know what I mean? But I think, dude, honestly, the 4-day work week is the most appealing to me, regardless of the pay.
Good idea.
Granted, I need to be able to live off of it, but the 5-day work week, it's literally the monkey experiment they did with the sprinkler. It's like, we just do it because it's always been that way. It's an old thing.
Well, I mean, the 4-day work week, I assume they just extend it to longer shifts so that you're still hitting 40 hours a week, but you have more days off, is what I would assume.
So that I would be fine with that.
So same,
but that's not always the case. I would be fine with that, but that's not always the case. Some companies will go the extra mile and say, no, it's 32 hours, but we're going to guarantee you a better salary. So like, that's like more icing on the cake, but of course, nobody's going to say no to that. Oh, of course. 32 hours? Dude, that's enough to get a job done. It's enough to get
I believe that's kind of like the model in either Germany or France. Like some European country, I believe, does have like a 4-day work week is like the norm.
I don't think
or is it like the Nordic countries? I don't know.
I want to say
I think it's Spain.
Oh yeah,
Spain. I don't know.
It's common. I
was way off,
but I don't think it's like everyone does it. I think it's just very common. Is the thing is like they've learned that's a competitive thing they can do. Because like it's
Spain. It is Spain because I pulled it up because I had the article, but it's Spain. Productivity grew 40%. Electricity use dropped 23%. Worker satisfaction was at a 92% increase.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's just the argument of work-life balance. Dude. Like, everything when it comes to like even working with like bosses and stuff you have now. I mean, they have a job, you have a job. Your job is to convince them to pay you as much, like way more than what you're worth, and their job is to pay you way less than what it's worth, and hopefully you meet in the middle. I assume it's the same thing with labor of like, hey, we need you to work this much. No, you only actually need me to work this much. Look at how much I stand around. Like, because that could be the argument. Like, even in manual labor jobs that like I've been in, dude, we weren't busy all the time. Every so often there'd be like 4 or 5 hours a day in which we just sat around and did nothing. And it was like, well, you don't want them to send you home, so make sure you clean. And it's like, I finished cleaning about an hour ago. Now it's just me fake cleaning stuff and talking with people.
And that's wasted labor. Exactly. It's like you're sweeping something that's already been swept. You're rearranging parts that are already in their correct slots and buckets. You're doing nothing. That's what I'm saying. Like, 4 days is like 4/8, 32 is fine, Monday through Thursday, or use it however you want. But I advocate, and this is not just to be ridiculous and be flagrant, 3 days. 3 days, 3 10s, 30 hours. Now it rotates. The reason being is, yes, electricity use, worker satisfaction. You would pay less people on vacation because now that your work week is 3 days, you only need to dole out 6 days of vacation because that's 2 weeks now. You have less call outs because it's like, dude, you have 4 days. You actually have, you have 4 days to get your stuff done. So attendance policy, personally, if I had on, it'd be more strict because like you had 4 days to take care of what you had to take care of. Also, childcare costs would go down. If your work day was Monday through Wednesday and your spouse's was Wednesday through Friday, you need less babysitter care. You get more time with your kids. Like, there would be an enormous amount of benefits from it.
To me, 3 days is too short. Because here's my side argument with that. Because you're like, oh, well, you could just have 2 different crews running in the business. Like, dude, I've worked at jobs where there's a day shift and a night shift. They hate each other because someone doesn't do something right. Or because, like, for me, it was like we would take an hour every morning plotting out where every pole was in the lot. And this was a huge lot of like 3 different lots with over 100 poles in them. We'd go through and we'd plot out each row. This is what part's here. This is which one's here. We'd have 4 different crews working on plotting this out. Plot it out, turn it in. Come in the next day. Guess what? Night crew didn't mark where they moved anything. So guess what? We do it again. Another waste of an hour. Like, my thing is, like, having too many work crews when it comes to something like that is just going to create problems and inconsistencies. I feel like with a 4-day work week, you can keep one crew doing that and have enough labor and enough jobs that you don't end up starting taking hits on the business side where things aren't running as efficiently.
That's just a lack of communication and tribalism. The lack of communication on the 2 shifts, because no matter what job you have, there is an opening shift and then closing shift. And just like that, they both hate each other as well because the closers never closed properly and the openers didn't do anything before they headed out. It does not matter what industry you work in. It's a lack of communication. And then tribalism, how it's tribalism is because you identify with that shift. Well, our team can do it right. But the night shift is like, those daytime guys are idiots.
So
your guys should be done.
So my argument to that is still that's you're amplifying the problem by making sure there's 2 work days or like 2 shifts completely separate in the week. that would amplify that problem, because that's 3 days for the other crew to do a bunch more wrong, and then your next crew is coming in and fixing it, and it becomes that tit for tat over and over and over and over and over and over. I feel like 3 days would amplify that problem. I feel like 4 days is enough that you can have one crew get as much labor out as they need to get the job done and not have to have a secondary crew running so you can prevent problems.
Falls on leadership, because it's not a guaranteed Monday through Wednesday. You could be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You could have one guy that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. He has enough overlap with them. It also falls back on leadership to communicate, here's exactly what we're doing, and to get with his heads of the shifts to run with that idea. Because it's not guaranteed Monday through Wednesday. That's just an idea. But, your team that's, however it overlaps, but that just comes back to problems.
Even then, though, I don't even know why we're talking about like, oh, well, I want 3 day. Bro, we can't even get 4 day, much less 5 days. Like with your job, how many days off do you actually get? One? Like you maybe get actually 1 day off, and that's if you're lucky and you don't get like 3 or 4 emails that are urgent and need to be taken care of then. So it's like, bro, we can't even get an actual consistent 5-day work week at most jobs. Like, even in America nowadays, like, dude, 90% of our manual labor, one of their selling points is in as much overtime as you want. And it's like, I don't know if you understand this. That's not a pro. That's a con.
Yep. And yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I know people to this day that sign up for 5-day-a-week jobs that are manual labor, and every other week they get called in on a Saturday. Every other week, they either got to go in on the Saturday, or they got to switch someone, and then they offer Sundays. They'll offer triple time. Which again, I get that. That's cool. That's a fair trade-off, but it's also sometimes it's like, maybe I wanted to do something that Sunday. Maybe I actually wanted to take that day and live the life that I was, splooged out into this universe to live.
My favorite argument to that is like those jobs too. They will just make the decision of like, well, we need this many people working or the whole crew's going to be there. And everyone's like, not going to be me. And then the whole crew's there. Like, it's never, they always try to make it seem like, well, we try to make it the best for you as we can, but you also know that they don't advertise that. Like, when I was working at my job, dude, I was working 7 days a week, every day, like, every week. I did not have time off. In my, 3 or 4 months working there, I had 1 Sunday off. And every time it was like, dude, why are we here? We didn't do anything. The trucks don't work. We don't have work orders as far as the poles that we need to fix and clean up. Like, why? Why are we here? And they never advertise it either. Like, they will just spring it on you. They will do like, oh, yeah, it's a 5-day work week. And then they're just like, well, guys, things got busy, so we need you for Saturday. And it's like, Brett, I didn't agree to that. Why do you get to force me to work that and threaten my job because you never advertised to me that we would be working on Saturdays?
It's that old mentality that needs to die off. So, like, you go radical with a 3-day, and you might get a 4-day, but it's the old mentality of, like, well, I need you here for 6 days. Like, we're not doing anything. Well, I'd feel better if you just stood around. Like, okay, but that's fine if you feel better, but you're paying me. You realize this. You're paying me more. Like, so how about we drop that idea? I get my job done in 3.5 to 4 days, and we have, increased productivity. You save money on lights. Like, all this stuff. You'll save money on vacation because you have to pay me less to equal 2 weeks or 4 weeks if you want to go that crazy with it. Like, it's whatever. It's just an old idea. It's like we just do it for the sake of doing it. There's no rhyme or reason. Because even right now, every job I've worked, there's been consistent call outs unless I worked with old guys. Every single job I've worked, somebody's calling out or somebody's late. It's like, so yeah, it's like, I don't know. Like, and I guess like, well, 4 days would make that worse. There'd be less of a crew. It's like, no, it'd be a more compact crew. Mm-hmm. There'd be more people there on that. So if somebody does call out, okay, we have one backup already on that day. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Like, Jesus.
You're going to be more ready to go too. I mean, 3 days off is like, I'd probably be ready to go back. Be like, that's pretty long. Or even if you did 4 days, 4 days would honestly be kind of rough. I think I'd be able to do the like 4-day work week and 3 days off. 3-day work week and 4 days off. I would be hard to go back. Like after that third day, I'm like, dang, I've been home for a while.
So you want to know what's actually funny about this? Is my girlfriend actually technically works both of those.
Oh, she's like a 3 on 4 off, 4 on 3
4, and I think she works 12-hour shifts. So 1 week she's at 36 hours, the next week she's in overtime. But the way she really loves the schedule of 3-4, but the problem that they're having right now is staffing's getting low because they don't feel like they're being treated right.
Dude, and so I used to, and then I'll tell you this too, speaking of 4 days off would be hard, I used to work with a guy, we worked at the same job, but he's talking about one of his previous jobs. He worked at a warehouse. I want to say, for some reason I want to say Best Buy, but I just don't remember Best Buy needing a warehouse. But anyway, the point is, he worked 3 12s, but they'd pay him 40. They'd pay him the extra 4 that he didn't get. And he had 4 days off every week. And he said, dude, he's like, it ruined me because it was like the best job knowing you'll never have it again. He's like, but you were always ready to come back. And here's the thing, with those time off, you would pursue other hobbies. You might start a side business. I don't know. But you actually just might actually flesh out a hobby. Not like, dang, I got an hour to do this tonight before all my other responsibilities and then work tomorrow.
Well, see, my argument to it as well that I'm sure that you would see with that 4-day work week is that you'd probably see more money getting pumped into the market because it's not like, oh, well, I have to take care of my chores all today, and then, oh, well, I didn't get my chores done, so I got to get them done on my next day off, so you're constantly running errands. You'd probably actually have time to go out and enjoy yourself and do shopping or go to a mall or like doing anything. I almost wonder if it pumps more money into the market. That would be the interest that I would want to see within like Spain if they had those numbers and could show the correlation of like this actually puts more money into the market. That would be more of a selling feature to like businesses to do it because at that point more people are spending money.
Well, dude, I mean, think about it now. Like, when you have a 2-day off work week, if the 2 days are back to back, your first day off is like, it's 1 of 2. You're running errands that whole first day off, so you're miserable because they're errands. You don't want to do them. And then the next day off is you just cocooning for the week because you're like, I don't want to do anything. I just need to rest. You're like, this is a miserable life I live. So if you have that third day, you would spend 2 days doing what you want to do. If you want to cocoon for last day, whatever, or if you want to cocoon in the middle, whatever. But like you would spend more money because when do you have time to go shopping? After work at 6 p.m.? Everything closes at 7 or 8, and you're in a rush. Or if you have dinner plans with some friends, you know.
I've never understood that about like our work days and like how we do labor here because at most shopping is like 9 to 5 or like most jobs are 9 to 5 and most shopping is like, you know, like 9 to 8 or like 9 to 9. Like you have a couple hours. Like if you can get there through the traffic, you might be able to run in there and get something, but I just don't understand like how that works. Like
it's cause business, man. It's literally like retail. That's how it works. Like it makes the most sense because I'd probably bet that they make most of their money after that work let out. Like I would argue that is probably their busiest times, and that's why it's structured like that. But if they went any later than that, they would have the problem of like, well, nobody's out because they have to get ready for work tomorrow.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you did the 4-day and the 3 days off, you'd have that, you know, all that time you could go actually do something.
Well, so the side argument to that would be like, well, I mean, you can't have fast food do that. You can't have food industries do it. They'd have to do separate shifts and stuff like that for it. But like most businesses, you couldn't have closed down.
No, they wouldn't close. No, I'm not saying they closed, but all of the employees there only work 4 days a week. That's
saying
it's all rotating.
Like overlapping.
Yeah, they're not closed. Thursday, Sunday, or Friday through Sunday. It's just the second team works Wednesday through Saturday, or whatever. However it falls, however zigzagged it falls, you still get 3 days off. Because, dude, there's this lady.
Would it be? Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah.
I was just gonna ask, would it be worth it for the business then? Because wouldn't you have to have almost double the amount of employees? So and you'd be paying them more, but they'd only be working 3 days. Or?
The argument to that is the production increase. If productivity increase, it becomes more efficient, so you make up any money that you would lose in having those extra workers. So the argument would be we could have more people employed to do this job. So you could, my argument's if I was trying to sales pitch this as to the government needs to step in and mandate this, or if I get to speak to all businesses on why they should do it, it would be the argument of, one, you're taking more people off the streets, so you're taking care of the employment problem. One, you're making more money. Two, your employees are staying because they're happy. And then just in general, everything kind of improves itself.
Well, and I was going to say, would you rather have 3 people at 20% or 6 people at 80%? It's an obvious choice.
True.
Obvious choice. Because everybody knows, dude, it's a joke, right? Today's Friday. Half the work gets done. A quarter of the work gets done. When's the last day? Yeah. Last day of their work week. You know what I mean? That's why Mondays suck, because everything you put off fell on Monday. It's just that would get cut down and condensed to 4 days. But I was gonna say, there's this this lady that runs a life coaching business, and she just trains other life coaches. She's a coach for coaches, whatever. She's in the triple-digit millions per year for her business. Okay, she works 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And she said, the reason I structured it that way is because every day's Friday. She's I know if I go hard Monday, I'm off Tuesday. I know if I go hard Wednesday, I'm off tomorrow. And she's that just repeats forever.
That probably feels nice.
Yeah, which would kind of throw me off. I would probably just sandwich 3 together or 4 together. But I'm her perspective is every day is a Friday. I want to just kill it today and take tomorrow off. And she's knocking down, 9 figures.
Dude,
cool.
You know what people tell me that really annoy me in retail? Have a good weekend. Dude, it's retail. I don't get the weekend off. I'm not do people just not understand that retail workers don't get weekends off? That's when they're fully staffed. Majority
of our employment is retail. That's why that's why retail meme pages and retail humor is so it gets so viral, because it's that's actually it's not niche. It is that majority of our workforce is retail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, retail or food industry or something like that. These massive industries.
That's what I'm saying. I'm why do we still say, get you a good 9 to 5 Monday through Friday?
It doesn't exist.
No, majority of jobs are, you'll find out your schedule tomorrow, and it ain't 9 to 5 either.
I think
it's the dream job.
I think it comes down to the simple fact of we think of decent jobs that pay really well are 9 to 5s.
9 to 5.
We think office jobs.
The best thing I could think of right out the gates, with no experience, would be a bank teller. It's probably 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard that joke too. It's you don't put in any work. You're working banker's hours. Why is that shamed? They have a
I thought that was
schedule.
The goal.
Well, that comes down to
have a structured schedule.
Well, that comes down to the people who brag about having 3 jobs. It's dude. I don't commend you on that. That's not a good thing. You shouldn't have to work that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've worked 2 jobs before. It's just you never have a day off, but it's just the money you make from the second job just goes to feeding yourself because you're too tired to do anything else. There's no It doesn't work. It's not more money. Like, I've been there. I thought it was more money. It's not more money. It's just more. Like, you're just miserable all the time. Like, it's just stupid. And then, yeah. Well, dude, I had someone tell me they were leaving the other day, and that was his thing. He's like, what I'm going to is Monday through Friday, and I just immediately it clicked to me. I'm like, why is that the ideal? I don't condone. I'm not like, shitting on him of like, you only work Monday through Friday. No, I'm just like, that is funny. We always go back to Monday through Friday.
Well, I think
it's school ingrained into us Monday through Friday.
Well, I think school ingrained it, and I also think it comes down to too, like, what your friend group is, right? Because, like, if everyone's working retail, we all have one odd day off throughout the week that's like consistent with each other. Whereas, like, let's say, like, I were to jump into a 9 to 5 versus y'all working a job that's, like, retail and has those really odd schedules. Like, dude, we never get to see each other because you're working all the time. Mm-hmm. So if you come over, it's going to be after work. You're going to be exhausted. You're not going to be extremely talkative because we all hate going to work most days, and it's draining. So, like...
And, yeah, the 2 days off, like, Friday night, do something. Saturday, recover. Do your hair, and Sunday cocoon. Yeah, like that's the ideal. But it's like it's school ingrained that in us. But the thing is that school was designed in a way to make you a factory worker, because that's how all the factory jobs worked. That's why you have bells in between the classroom. That's why you have the short lunch break. Like,
I think it's a chicken versus the egg argument on that one, because like the argument would be that most jobs are 9 to 5. But when it comes down to, like, kids and stuff like that, well, like, for a lot of people, school is childcare. So, like, hey, if I'm off weekends, the kids are off weekends, everyone's schedule aligns, we're not having to pay extra money for childcare. So it's like a chicken versus the egg of, like, did school do that because factories were doing that, or did factories do that because schools were doing that?
Well, the problem is the weekend off together would be nice. But most schools get out at, like, the younger you are, like, school gets out at, like, 3. So you have 2.5 hours of, like, crap, I need a sitter, I need someone to pick them up, or does the school have a daycare program where they can stay for a few hours? Is there an after-school activity they can do to buy me some time to get there?
Dude,
that's the problem. It's like...
Dude, like, our school would get out, like, at least when I wasn't going to the high school when I met y'all, the school I used to be at used to get out at, like... I think it was like 3 or something like that. I would not get picked up till like 7 or 6 most days. So it's pretty much like, what kind of trouble can I get into at the school? Like, that's why I was looked at like such a bad kid there. Cause like, dude, I was not going to detention after school. Like they literally had detention after school, not in school suspension like they have, or like SAC or whatever you want to call it, where it's like, oh, you get kicked out of the classroom. Like, that was a new concept to me when I went to public schools. I was like, this is weird. I had legitimate, like, after school detention. Like, you're going to be here. You're getting, 5 days worth. So you'll be here for 30 minutes afterwards every day, sitting in this room doing nothing. You can work on schoolwork and that's it. And if you talk, you're getting more time. Like, that was like jail to me. But it would also be like, all right, dude, we'd have kids we'd figure out how to break into like where they stored like the balls for the gym, like footballs, basketballs. Like, we would find ways to get into hijinks. Like, there was always something, or it was like, oh, the school has a weight room that's not being used. Okay, we're gonna go to the weight room, and we had like 2 or 3 different weight rooms at that campus.
Dude, my beef, so before I was, dude, moving was actually better for me because I was our school system and my house were like nearby. So like the first district I went to when I first met you and everybody else, dude, like I had to get up at 5 a.m. as a kid, get myself ready, and I think I had to be at the bus around 5:30 to 6. I can't recall exactly, but I remember I was at least 6 in the morning to get on the bus. I was one of the first stops in the morning. But you're first stop in the morning, you're not first stop in the evening. It was so backwards, dude. So backwards. So I'd get on around 6. I would also get off the bus at 5 p.m. because I was one of the last stops.
Dude,
it was 11 hours a day, 5 days a week. I was miserable. So when I did move and I had the afternoon, I was like, what? This is what kids do.
Dude, that's kind of how it was for me, except I didn't get up that early. I'd get up at like 6. School didn't start till like 9, I think, or something like that. Get there, wait for
8:30.
It was a private school, so. But what would end up happening is I'd get there, you'd be there for like an hour, and front doors would be unlocked, but there wouldn't, the same thing. Like, dude, the craziest thing though that I did love about private school that sucked when I went to public school, we literally had a Monster vending machine in the private school. It was so
what
cool.
vending machine?
A Monster vending machine.
Oh, Monster. Oh my God.
Like, yes, because it wasn't because it's not public, they get to make those decisions. So,
That's
dude,
cool.
and the same thing. So it was like, oh, we didn't have cafeteria food. We had like, hey, if you want to get your kid food, here's a list of what we're doing each day. So, Mondays be Chick-fil-A, Tuesdays be Chicken Express, like Wednesday would be Texas Roadhouse, and you'd check what you'd want and they'd cater to that school.
So,
and the lunch people would hand it out to you. You would essentially give them your school ID, and they would scan it into the system, verified, okay, this is your order. This is what your parents ordered for you for these couple months.
Dang.
Dude, the school rumors that would always linger before you went to the next grade were hilarious. I remember, like, before I went to intermediate, like, they were like, dude, like, the food there's better or whatever. Like, there was always a rumor until you got there. I remember going into high school, in junior high when I was in y'all's school district, there was a rumor that y'all's high school had like a Red Baron restaurant for pizza days. Like you could get Red Baron pizza. And then like at my school, there was a rumor, because I went 8th grade, I switched. There was a rumor that there was a Chick-fil-A built into the school. And I'm like, what? Didn't happen. I'm like, and who's making it up? Other 8th graders.
Little did you know that was literally happening at my school.
Yeah, I'm like, no way. Dude, and then you're telling us, you're like, no, that did.
No, dude, so that happened, but like when it came out, like my parents were pretty much paying to put me through college, through all of that. Like dude, you paid like, I think it was close to $10,000 a semester. They were doing that for 2 kids. And still to this day, I asked my dad, how did you afford that? And he was like, I have no idea. Like, he does not know. We did. He was like, I wanted you to go to public school. He was like, your mother's the one that wanted you to go to private school. And I was like, I mean, I guess. But like, dude, my school was wild, bro.
And here we all are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude,
I mean, I guess they both got their wish, right? I did go to private and public.
My high school was 3 stories, so like I never did this to freshmen because I wasn't a dick, but there would always be a group of people that would tell the freshmen like that one of their classes was on the 4th floor. They would like run around looking for it,
bro.
Like, you guys are dick.
So what's weird about that is like in a private school, we didn't have that. Everybody knew each other. Every grade kind of intermingled and stuff like that. There was no like the junior high kids would work out with the high school kids. No issues. Like there was not that weird stigma of like their grades below you. It was just like, nah, that's my buddy Mark. Like Mark's a grade below, but he's a pretty chill guy. Like it was
my buddy Mark.
Well, dude, it was weird. Like, nobody cared. That stigma was not there.
Mm-hmm.
It's some kids, like, in some kids, it's that tribalism. They want that stigma. Like, I never felt that. I was never like, well, I can't associate with you. You're a grade below me. You're either annoying or you're not annoying, or I think you're cool or whatever. Like, dude, I'm not interested in creating a divide. Like, but there's always those people.
Dude, so the side note for me that's still like the biggest mind-blowing thing about when I transitioned to public school is the idea that y'all didn't walk away with homework every day from every single class. Like in private school, every class you had 2 or 3 sheets of homework for every single class, and they would make sure they used their whole time for it. Like, so when I got to public school, now granted, my public school was a little bit different than most because it was the highest education standards. But dude, I remember walking in, and that first month, the whole time I was thinking like, Jesus, These people are dumb. Like, dude, to this day, my first history class, the teacher says something. I'm like, yeah, like I already know that. That's 100%. Like, I felt like I was a year or two ahead. And then I heard some girl ask some stupid question, and that was like nail in the coffin of me for like, oh, I don't have to try here. Like, I'm going to pass. Like, I am like way ahead of these kids.
When I was in y'all's public school, so the homework I would get, luckily I had like the math teachers, like they had a hard on for homework. They just always like they had such a hard on for it. So if I had them as an earlier period, like I would get my homework done during the next class. Like I would always just blast through it. I didn't have something to do. When I got moved, that was not the thing. Like that was like, it was like a different level. Like, yeah, same thing as you, Clayton. Like I remember reaching a point and I was like, I literally am not trying and I'm passing everything. Like this is like boring to me.
Yes.
And then when I got moved, I was like, okay, all right, let me. Like, there's actually a few things
you had the side. See, you had it flopped. I had like super high education standards in the beginning, and then I got to like the years where it's like, oh, I'm here to have fun. Like that is the whole reason I'm here. It is not to get an education because I already have that. And then you had the opposite of where it's like, dude, this is like, wow, this is stupid. Like this is hard. Like. I don't really have to try too hard, but I really wish they would give me homework. Like, this is pointless. And then it's like transition schools, and it's like, no, homeboy, you got homework constantly, and you better figure it out.
And not only that, like the subject like would actually like I actually engage on it, and there was like they would actually challenge you to your potential. Like my English class freshman year, I always like to speak up because English was one of my favorites. Like he moved me to AP. He's like, you can't be in my class. He's like, I'm not gonna let you be here in regular. Like they forced transfer me into AP, and then me and that AP teacher beefed. She was super direct. She was a bitch. We ended up liking each other at the end because like that was just her style. Like I didn't get it at first, but dude, like we beefed a lot.
Dude,
but he wouldn't let me be in a regular class.
Dude, dude, I just hate that. I hate when you go head to head. And dude, I've always hated English. Like even in the class I was in, like dude, I hated English so much. Dude, funny story. I don't think y'all have ever heard. So like, I don't know if y'all were ever forced to learn cursive. Like were y'all forced?
I think, yeah.
Dude,
like third grade, and then we third or fourth.
So, no, we didn't learn it in our public. I learned it in my private school that I went to for up to first grade. I learned it in first grade.
Dude, so I legitimately cried going from print to cursive because that transition was so hard for me, dude. They would give me the notebook and work and show me everything. I could, dude, for the life of me, could not do it. Like to the point that I was so upset that I couldn't learn it that I was crying. And then what's funny now is I can't write print. I have to write cursive. Y'all see me write print. It's horrible. It's all over the place. My letter sizing is wrong. But like if I write cursive, it's nice. It's legible. It's not the neatest, but you can read it very well and easily.
See, that's weird because I learned cursive. I mean, I know I learned print first, but as a kid, like I remember writing in cursive. And when I went to the public school in second grade, no one else could write in cursive. Everyone's like, you can write like the teacher.
That was super weird for me too. Because like even being in like at the high school standard, y'all's teacher would still accept print. Like when I was in private school, they wouldn't accept print. Like after you got to a certain grade, they were like, we expect your papers, we expect your like answers to be in cursive. You do not have an excuse. Like this is what you should be writing in, because their argument was this is professionalism. Like in the workplace, you write in cursive, you do not write in print. And I think it's because that's what their generation was.
Dude,
it was. Now it's like you need to know how to write an email, but go ahead.
Everyone needs to know how to write cursive and read cursive. I can write cursive. I actually struggle reading it sometimes, but Dude, our Constitution was written in cursive. The Declaration of Independence was written in cursive. Like, we eventually, if we stop teaching that, people will not be able to read it.
So my problem with cursive, and the reason why it's more like, in general, it's more difficult to read cursive than it is print. And it's because print is hammered into you because it's the first one you learn, so you're most adaptable to learning it. You learn it, but the thing with cursive is everyone has letters in cursive that they don't like to write. So like a Z or like a certain like or like a lowercase g, those things are really weird. Like the proper way to write them is very weird in cursive. But once you transition over to writing cursive, you will mix print into it, and everyone mixes it differently. That's why I think it's harder to read cursive, because everyone kind of gets their own style to it.
Yeah, so but I still think it's important just because of our original documents. I think
well, actually, I could read cursive before we ever had to write it, because to me, I could see the patterns in the letters. The Z is very weird. Capital G looks nothing like a G.
I hate capital G.
Oh, I had to learn how to do it because my name. But like, other than that, like I could read it before we could even introduce to writing it. So I was able to read it, but that's just like I'm sure there's like, 1 out of every 30 people that can do that or whatever. But what I was gonna say was that, speaking of like something made you cry and you have to do it now or whatever. When there was a point in my time, I went to a different public school that none of us went to. When I lived with my mom for a few years, and I remember I had another one of those moments as a kid. It was first grade, and I wasn't there for the first day of school. I was kind of like a few days later, and she's like, "All right, time to write. Everybody, put up your folders so nobody can see what you're doing." And she's like, "You just free write," and I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, you just free write." I'm like, oh, what do I write about? She's like, write about anything. And she's like, walked off. This teacher was also like hard, like should not be teaching 6 and 7-year-olds. Cause if you didn't do something right, she'd call you a bozo. She was like, some bozo put these papers wrong. Like, dude, she'd yell at you. Anyway, I'm already terrified. New school, no friends. Like, I'm already kind of feeling out the class of like, who's the bully? Who's gonna who can probably beat me up?
Who's the cool kid? Who's the nerdier kids? Who's the smart kid to cheat off of?
Yeah, and like I at that time like super like in my shell, dorky. Like I could not fit in to save my life, but. She's like, free write, dude. Same thing. I started crying because I didn't know what to write about. It's like the dumbest thing to think about. It's like a 7-year-old would cry about. But she's like, why are you crying? I'm like bawling. I'm like, I don't know what to write about. I
need structure.
She's like, I don't care what you write about. Pick something. Giraffes. Write about giraffes, dude. And what's funny is like. Now like I'm like a creative writer. Like I loved creative writing class. I love journalism. Ever since that moment, granted she was a bitch, I learned something. Now if I need to write something, I just remember like just pick something. Like quit being a pussy, just pick something. So I wrote about giraffes. I was like, okay. So I just like quit being a pussy, just pick something and go. See what happens.
Bro, so what's funny about that? So like you talk about that dorkiness. Like I think about it now, dude, like the only time in my life where I had trouble fitting in that school realm, because like even when I was little, I was kind of in on the in group, I was kind of friends with everyone kind of knew me, even when I was in private school. The weirdest point was when it came to public school, dude. When I transitioned to public school, I had that superiority complex of like, dude, I don't want to talk to most you people are really, really dumb. Like I remember seeing one of our other kids in a class, like, it was also one of those things that, like, writing on desks and drawing stupid stuff on paper was, like, out of the realm of context for me. And I think it comes down to the fact that, like, private school, dude, I didn't have that kind of time on my hands. Like, you were constantly working, you were constantly being taught. You didn't have free time to do that. So when I saw that kid doing it, I was just like, dude, why are you not paying attention? Like, it was just weird to me. So, like, dude, and then I only had, like, one or two, like, when I was first moved to that public school, I only had one or two friends. Like, I know for a fact, I'm pretty sure Q didn't even know I went to that school in, like, 8th grade. So
we had a class together. It was,
did
reading
we?
Or whatever, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember you in that class. Like, I was not.
You didn't talk to me. No, I was like because I didn't know anyone in that class. And then I didn't know who you were. I was just like, oh, it's a new kid. And you sat on like the other side of the room, and you had like a buddy in there that you chopped it up with all the time. But I hated that class because I hated our teacher in that class. So I never talked.
Oh, dude, I hated that class, but I hated the teacher. But my thing was, I never felt like I was on anyone in our friend group's radar during that time. And then out of nowhere, high school hit, and that's when it blossomed and we came on each other's radar.
Because you know why? Because my mom told me, she was like, "Hey," she's like, that people that live down the street, he started going to Alvarado, and I was like, "Huh?" She's like, yes, just say hi, see who he is at school. I was like, okay. And then we had you in PE. Me and Chase all decided PE in freshman year. That's when it hit off. I had no idea who you were. That you lived on my street or anything when we were in 8th grade.
Hilarious to me that your mom told you to make friends with me.
Not like that. She's just like, just say hi to him. Like, his dad's real nice. I was like, okay. I didn't think it in a bad way.
No, it's just like, okay. It's hilarious and kind of ironic. Like, I know it wasn't literally like, now Q, I need you to be friends with that boy, okay? Like, no, I know it wasn't that, but I wonder if it was more your mom was like, I've only met him a few times. I wonder what his kid's like.
Well, dude, so that's the thing is because I know your parents were building when my parents were building their house. So she and she always really liked your dad. So she was just like, yeah. So I was like, all right. Mm-hmm. But yeah. And then we ended up, you were in the same stuff. You were like nerdy into stuff and you're like super into MMA. And I was just getting into that. You always had your tap out t-shirt.
Yeah.
I don't know, bro. And you were freaking funny, bro. That was the thing. That was the thing that always caught my attention with literally each friend that I've made is y'all had made me laugh at some point. I was like, I want to stick around to see what's going to happen next. Mm-hmm. Like, that's kind of what would happen with each person. But I remember when it was like towards the end of the year and we Chase had a Sharpie and it was when we were on block schedule. So we were at PE for like 2.5, 3 hours or whatever. And coach left for like 45 minutes. So Chase just went to town on your bare back with the Sharpie. And that's when it all started. His entire back, big letters, PE4, the number 4 life. And that's when he started playing extreme volleyball and like screaming at everyone.
Oh, dude, that was
history from there.
Oh my God,
dude.
I remember that
because. A photo.
Oh, go ahead, Devin.
I went through like a month or two ago. It was the same morning I got into NFTs. The only reason I think of it, I cleaned out a lot of my Instagram, not all of it, but a lot of it. And I have a photo of your back. I don't remember which party this was, but they drew an undead Snow White on your back and an anarchy symbol. It's like really good looking. But I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. It was like an undead Snow White with like an apple in her hand. It was crazy looking. Dude. But after that, it was just kind of grotesque.
It's just like funny to me because I remember that one happened because he was gone for an hour, drew on me. Then he came back, and that was the same day that all the like junior high kids were coming in to see the volleyball program and stuff like that the coaches. And I think that was I remember that. That was a good time, man.
Yeah, because coach came back and he was like livid. He was mad that you're doing like Chase just kept throwing you the ball, and every time you'd hit, it's just like that Wagner scream. Like that's when you were just like breaking out of your shell, dude. Mm-hmm. That day just set the tone for the rest of the years.
I think about that of like what made me break out of my shell with that, and I think it was mainly being with the group of friends that we had. Is like when we all hung out, it was like, oh, we're going to have a good time. We're going to be out of our shell. We're going to be loud. Like that. I remember your mom was always like, y'all are really loud. Like we are loud people. So like it just happened, and then like that, I feel like that kind of transferred into school. Cause like I remember the first time I came over to your house, like I did not talk much. Y'all's whole goal was to try to weird me out.
I remember, dude. I remember because we had met you at school, and we thought you were like, we're like, all right, this kid's kind of cool, so we're like, let's have him over. Like he apparently lives right down the street.
Let's do the litmus test.
Yeah, I was like, dude, we did that with everyone, bro. And so like for Clayton's, it was just me and Jason. We're like, we're just gonna turn on this specific movie scene, and it was the disgusting sex scene from Team America. And we just had it playing on the TV, and Clayton's just sitting there in silence. This is happening.
I was just like, I don't know what this is, but I mean, I guess this is what we're doing. So it's like, I mean, better than being at home.
Clayton's like, this is what it's like to have friends. I think I might just stay home.
Dude, no, dude. So like, you can ask Quentin. When we first met, I didn't curse. That wasn't a thing I did. Yeah, you did. So like when Chase and like you were like, no, dude, it's cool to curse in my house. Like my mom doesn't care. And you're like, watch this, and you yelled the fuck. Like Chase yelled the fuck as loud as he could, and I was just like, I was like jarred, like shell shocked of like, wait, you can do that? Like and not get in trouble? Like what the hell? God, dude.
Dude, I think about how much people on the outside always thought like, oh, like Q's the good kid. But I feel like I helped with some of the corruption because like our other two buddies that were master. So our other two buddies that were brothers, they came over here a lot, and the 5th grade is when I got separated, Chase and Devin on a different team, and that's when I got like, real close with Blake and Tyler, and like they weren't allowed to eat sugar or canned soda or any of this stuff. And they never told us. And they'd come over and they would just like demolish it. And I found out years later, they're like, yeah, dude, we were like, this is awesome. We didn't know we could do that. Like we weren't allowed to do that. And I was like, what?
I was, and I, so like as a parent, sometimes I think about like, when do I pull back? When do I overextend of like, you can and can't do this? And like, because I was just thinking about today, or was it yesterday? I can't remember. Somebody brought up the first CD. Oh, I was watching the Shane O'Neill podcast. He's like, the first CD I ever bought was a Twisted CD. And I was like, what was my first CD? My first CD I bought 2 at once. I bought American Idiot by Green Day and Blink-182 Greatest Hits. And I just remember my dad brought me home to my grandmother's, and she saw on the front of American Idiot is the parental advisory sticker. She's like, you can't listen to that. And I was like, oh, why not? She's like, I was like, everyone has it. She's like, don't care. So my dad kept it. Of course, I knew it was going down. He kept it. But I got to keep the Blink-182 because they put parental advisory on the back. Anyway, what that leads me to is, of course, the very next weekend I went to my dad's, he lets me listen to American Idiot. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, dude, he's such a bro. He's always let me do whatever I want, but like it turned out for the better. So it's like, it's hard to draw that line because like he was always like, I don't care. The thing was like, it's a song. Grow up. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like it's a juggling system though. You know what I mean? Like you just kind of figure it out as you go. There's like, as they say, there's no actual manual to making a good kid. Like you either do or you don't.
Well, when Harry Potter like was releasing as we were growing up, at the time, the part of my family I was living with was insanely religious. So at that time, I don't know if y'all remember, Harry Potter was a war topic. It was a war topic in a religious household. It was, so my dad's like,
I didn't experience that.
Dude, it was like, you bring that up. It's like it was like bringing up abortion.
Yes, you did not grow up in a religious home. I grew up in a religious home as well. Dude, I wasn't even allowed to watch The Golden Compass when it came out because it played on themes of atheism and like evolution.
Oh my god!
So I wasn't allowed to watch
that influence. I was over here watching Harry Potter, Beavis and Butthead when I was like 9 years old or 10 years old. Like,
I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons. Like, dude, I was
Harry Potter was like it was like a war topic for Christians at the time. Like it's magic, it's devil work, da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my dad saw it, whatever. And his art is the same argument. It was like, it's a movie. He knows it's not real. Because his perspective is like, if you teach him like this is real, he's going to think it's real. He's going to think it's a movie. What was
Which
funny
is a good perspective.
Yeah. What the funny is the series went so long. I mean, even in the movies, you see Daniel Radcliffe grow up. By the time it finished, my family that I was living with dropped that argument, and they were in on watching it.
So
it was funny.
So that was the like cool thing that Harry Potter did. Like when they did their releases, you were like same thing with like the books. You grow up with the kids. So like I don't know if I haven't read Harry Potter, but I've listened to a lot of people talk about it. So like as you read from one book to the next to the next to the next, the reading level kind of advances alongside you. And the whole idea is that you kind of grow up with Harry and Hermione and Ron. You grow up alongside them. So it's the same kind of context with the movie, is like you kind of grew up with them.
That's interesting.
Dude, you know what's a banger movie, though? Banger series? Pirates of the Caribbean, bro.
I stopped watching, I think, after the third one.
The third one was
the third one was At World's End, I think, with Davy Jones.
Davy Jones. Davy Jones was in like 2 of them, dude.
Well, that might have been like the first one that was like. So it was Pirates of the Caribbean, and then what was it? The second one was Black Pearl.
No, first one was
right?
Black Pearl. First one.
Black Pearl was the first one.
Curse.
And then you have what is it? Dead Man's Chest.
Which is the
maybe that was the second one.
With no, God, I can't remember.
Davy Jones wasn't until the third one, because the second one was with the guy that would go undead. Or not?
Dude, I don't know.
Barbosa was the first one.
They all kind of blend together with me. The first one was the Aztec Cold and stuff like that. Then you had Dead Man's Chest, which was that's where you first see Davy Jones, and I think the transitioning starts to happen. Then you have, dude, they all blend together, but I want to say the third one is where he comes back after Davy Jones and everything like that. Like he's at the world's end, and they have to rescue him and pull him off.
Yep.
See, but how many are there? Aren't there like 5?
There's like 5. There's like 6 or 7.
I stopped at the.
There's quite a few.
I stopped at the third one. By the third one, I wasn't interested, and that was like I was probably probably like somewhere around 9 to 11 when that came out. I was already like, I don't like this anymore.
Dude,
I didn't go past that world.
Dude, I remember being in private school. That was like one of the in things to be watching, and because I was the poor kid at the in school, I didn't know what they were talking about. Like same thing with like Harry Potter, bro. So like, until I met my girlfriend, I had not watched Harry Potter all the way through. I had not watched Pirates of the Caribbean all the way through. Like, there was so much that I had not watched. Like, when y'all met me, I was a very sheltered kid.
Yeah.
Dude, like, Pirates of the Caribbean. I can't even think where I was going with that. But yeah.
I was going to bring up the Fast and Furious series, bro.
Dude.
Oh, that's what it was. That's what it was.
F9, dog.
Dude, the beginning of my school career was at the post school. I'll finish that. That was the thing, because like I always remember in like kindergarten and first grade, kids were asking me if I saw Fast and Furious. I'm like, no, I've never seen Fast and Furious. Like that was the cool movie to watch, at least with the kids I was hanging out with. And that was the thing.
I want to say though, like the first one was actually decent. Like
it was.
First one was good, dude.
I'll tell you the only scene that I remember from that one is where they put the rat on the dude's chest and they heat up the end of the bucket so the rat tries to like start biting his way through the guy.
Yeah, it was.
I think that's the only scene I remember.
Yeah. The first one was more like this is a underground syndicate type thing. There's some street races involved in it. Now it's like, you're waiting for the Avengers crossover. You're waiting for Pirates of the Caribbean crossover. it's so ridiculous. Like, did y'all watch the trailer for the 9th one? Like, like at one point they have like a semi, and he like jams the brakes to do a front flip to take out another vehicle, and then he drives it upside down. And there's another scene, he like Vin Diesel like flies it off the edge of a cliff, jumps out last second to take out like a fighter jet and explodes midair.
Dude,
and
that's nothing, bro. I've seen him do so much.
I think that's like my
whole
argument with it is like they kept trying to jump the shark. Like how we talked about last week with like anime, they always have to try to set the bar higher, and I think Fast and the Furious falls into that same thing. Like the first 2 or 3 are like, I don't regard those as bad movies, but once we got to like Fast and the Furious 6, it's like, dude, I don't care anymore. Like
Tokyo Drift only mattered because Han came in it and he was the best. But I heard a theory today that the Fast and Furious saga is taking on like the anime type style. Like they're like, each one gets more ridiculous. It gets more into like gadgets or these crazy stunts. And also each one, the antagonist becomes a protagonist in the next one and becomes part of the group. Mm-hmm. And the group just keeps building. And each one, he's like, it's just like anime, bro.
It's at this point. Yeah, it's like at this point, the writers are in on the joke of like, yeah, we know it's ridiculous, but you're still paying to see it. Like this, when I saw the trailer,
they were like Dom's brother, and they're like John Cena. I'm like, who's the biggest dude that we can get to come in here and put on a tight suit and stare down Vin Diesel? Like,
well, I was just saying, like, yeah, like you brought up, I was gonna bring up, like, John, like, okay, we're 9 movies in, and we just now find out one of the main characters has a brother, and it just happens to be John Cena.
There was like Navy SEAL, Spec Ops. Now he's gone rogue. Like all.
Dude,
and they're both okay, and they both, and they're assassins, and they have the fighting skill of like Jason Statham in any of his movies.
Hey, he's
like,
in.
What do you mean?
That's also one of the things that like the reason why
in 7.
The reason why I can't get into those movies is it's like, dude, I don't know about you, but I don't know many military members and people who actually shoot guns where it's like, oh, we're rappelling out. I don't know many people that would actually miss the shot on someone rappelling out. Like, there is so much that I see in those movies where it's like they're fully surrounded. Like, in real life, you don't get out of this situation.
That's what's great about it, though, is because sometimes it's just like, you don't have to think. You can just watch some crazy stuff happen. Like, okay, Clayton, if you ever tried to get into that series, if I ever watched Black Hawk Down, watch Fast 5, because that's the best one. That's where The Rock gets introduced. And there's a scene that just...
5.
Okay. How...
Oh, no, is that the
I think
one?
you watched it over here
it,
with me.
Is
I
that
think
the
we all
one where
watched
he
it together.
stomps the ground?
And where he, like, runs those 2 dudes into the fence? Where he's like, he like falls down onto these 2 like drug dealers. Because I remember us all laughing at it, or laughing at it with someone because he was so big. He just like clotheslines these 2 dudes into a fence. It's just ridiculous,
dude.
Oh, so I thought which one was it? It was like 6, 7, or 8. Who knows? But they were like, they're in a parking garage. He stomps the ground. They drop a level.
Oh, I think that was 7. I don't think that was like, 8. I'm not sure.
Dude, it's probably 7. Probably 7.
Yeah. When he's fighting Jason Statham,
I will make an agreement with you, Quentin. If we both sit down and watch Black Hawk Down together, I will sit down and watch Fast and the Furious 5 with you, bro.
I bet. It's the best one. It has all the characters.
Dude, like, I think they're just in on it, and it's eventually like going to become a Sharknado type thing.
I think it already is. That's the thing. I don't feel like those. Like, I think the difference is like Sharknado, like, understood very seriously, we're not a good movie because people care. Whereas like, I feel like Fast and the Furious is in on the joke, but they hide it like, oh, we're not in on the joke. Like, no, it's still funny.
They have 2 different audiences. They have an audience that does take it serious, like this is an action movie, and then they have people like us that are like, or like me, I guess, that I enjoy it, but I know it is what it is. Like, it's a joke. It's funny. I mean, they joke around a lot in it, but I don't know. But there are people that are like, this is badass. fast, like this is tough. Like there's people like that, dude. Like so they have to market it kind of two different ways.
Well, dude, what's hard for me is like seeing half the things they pull with a vehicle, and in my mind, I'm like, that vehicle's totaled now. Like it's
dude.
Like,
okay, so
it's hard for
Furious...
me to have in disbelief as they're like, we got these ultra secretive shocks that'll keep this from happening. It's like
there's a scene in like Furious 7 or it was 6 or 7, and it starts out and Vin Diesel races this guy on the side of a beach, and he like turns on the NOS or whatever, and like his car blows up, like the engine blows up, but he's still driving forward. He flips around 180, goes backwards so the flames don't hit him, and somehow propels himself fast enough to beat this other car that's still driving normally. And he's just like, vroom. And then like afterwards, the guy's like, respect. And he's like, you can keep my car. And just walks off, and everyone's like, ah!
Dude,
there's a rocket attached to it. Dude, so like, here's who they can get. I already know who they can get for Fast 10. They can get Elon and Bill Gates. Because Elon's always down for stupid events, and Bill Gates is single now. And they're running a smear campaign against him about cheating with the employees. But he didn't cheat with the employees.
I was going to say, okay, I heard about that. And I didn't know if y'all had heard if that was true. And I heard one other allegation.
So, what it was is like, he again, old school stuff, like he'd email them, like ask them for a date. And if they declined, he would just move on. So, granted, not the most appropriate, but he would actually just drop it if they said no.
Still, I would say the reason it's not appropriate is because he's the owner of the company, so it's a big power.
Right.
Yeah, it's
whatever you call
it's
there.
Like the same thing with Monica Lewinsky. Like,
you would feel obligated to say yes, but yeah.
But that's the thing. When they said no, he just dropped it. He wasn't like, "Are you sure you want to stay here? Are you sure you want that?" There was no like power grab. He's still Bill Gates. He's still a nerd. He's like, oh, all right.
I just haven't looked enough into it to know if the allegations are true or not, or if they're completely off base. Like, I'd want to see
it.
Okay.
I've heard one other thing that he also Good. I'm sorry, my bad, dude. I just want to say I heard one other thing about Bill Gates. Probably y'all could probably debunk it if it's not true, but I heard that
microchips in the vaccine.
No, that he's apparently spent a lot of time with Epstein. They visited Epstein's Island, but I'm not sure.
Probably he's rich. He's rich, probably. But what I'm saying is, like, as soon as he gets divorced, all these allegations from his now ex-wife or soon-to-be ex-wife, it's like whatever. Like, I don't know. He's like one of the richest people on the planet. Like, there's going to be a weird dynamic in his head.
That's true. I mean, he's pursuing his own stuff. Well, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know about microchips and vaccines, but
I mean, my thing is, you're like, oh well, it's probably the ex-wife. I mean, it may not even have to be with the fact that his ex-wife is the one targeting this. Could literally just come down to like these employees now see, like these old employees now see an ability to try to get money out of him because he's at a weakened state.
True.
Yeah, that too. But here's the thing. Here's the weird thing of like, it probably was awkward for him to like try to hit girls up because again, he's base code, he's a nerd. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So he probably didn't have to go through too much of that. Granted, yeah, he had to figure out how to get his wife or whatever, but like, and then how do you date as a billionaire? Like right now, let's say he does want to get back in a relationship. Like, does Bill Gates get on Tinder? Does Bill Gates get on Bumble? How does he?
Here's what's actually funny about that. Is there is actually like a separate celebrity like Tinder style thing that you have to be invited to be a part of. So that actually is a thing, but they have like celebrity Tinder where you're only getting on if you're a celebrity, like it's very exclusive kind of ordeal. Like there are like celebrities dating celebrities, this is how they match up. Like there is that casual dating side, but for just celebrities where they're not meeting the average Joe.
I used to always wonder why celebrities dated celebrities, but now like there would be a weird power complex, because if I was Bill Gates with a regular person, I'd be like, this person probably could give a shit about me.
So
like,
I think
I'm Bill Gates.
I think it can still spawn like normal. I think like there is celebrity dating like sites like Tinder and stuff like that. But I also think it comes down to who's in your social circles, right? Like, if you're all this actor's throwing a party, well, okay, I need to go there, see face, like, this director will be there, this casting agent will be there. Like, you do it for work, and then you end up meeting and chatting and stuff like that, or you work on projects together. Like, to me, like, it probably still comes a little bit naturally. Just like nowadays, most people end up dating someone they work with or that they meet from work. Like, that's a normal thing. I think it just depends on where your social circle's at.
Also, like, as a celebrity or someone of status, like a Bill Gates, you're one of the top 3 richest people on the planet. Like, how do you relate? For those actors and actresses, if they do date just a random person off the street, how do you relate to their lifestyle? It's like, hey, I got to go to this party tonight. You know what I mean? And like, you as the partner is probably going to be uncomfortable, or like everyone there's high status and I'm a regular Joe. So it's like, there's going to be conflict of like,
I'd probably be excited.
I don't. So like, here's my thing.
No.
Like,
okay.
I think you're thinking I think you're thinking of a different classification of people. Cause like, my thing is, I don't think they're just dating the average Joe off the street. I think they're still looking for people with certain qualities. Like, I know what you're saying, but like, I feel like the people they're probably dating are going to take to those situations decently and somewhat fit in. Like, you know what I mean? There'll be a niche. Like, I don't get along with this group, but this group I fit in. So I'm still the weird one out of this group, but they're cool enough with me. But even then, I don't think Bill Gates dates anyways. Like, dude, he's like 70 something, right? He's like old. I don't think he cares to date anymore. I think it's just like, whatever.
Okay, well, he's probably still wants to get his carrot wet.
Yeah, but
the guy.
At that point, with how much money you've got, like, and connections to government and stuff like that, you've got like the high end like escorts. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep,
like,
that's what I was about to say.
Blue chips.
Medical prostitution.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, but like and then the thing is though, like, okay, so like dating a celebrity, I don't think they're taking a random off the street. Yeah, if it's a female celebrity, this rando has to be high status in her eyes. So yeah, they have to be insanely charismatic to some degree, or like already be successful in another field. Mm-hmm. I agree with that, but I just think it'd be weird. That's probably why it doesn't work out. Because they can't relate to that life of like, I always have to travel. I always have to do this.
I think that's
unless
the
you're successful as well.
I think that's the problem though. Like, if you're an actor and stuff like that, it's not like you can bring your life on to set with you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's why most celebrity marriages don't work out, is it comes down to like, dude, I'm working all the time. If I'm like, when I'm finally home, you're off working. Like, same thing with like musicians and stuff like that. Like, you can't settle and have roots, like, which I feel like becomes that inadequacy. But on top of that too, I think most like famous people are going to be somewhat crazy. Like, there's just a crazy element to them. I don't think that anyone that's willing to drop absolutely everything they can to take a shot in the middle of nowhere and get extremely lucky doing casting and stuff like that for like normal movies or commercials and stuff like that, I don't think that person has the like a completely sane mindset. Like, they are off their rocker a little bit, and that's what got them to where they're at.
Well, yes, you have to be crazy, but I think like also like as a guy, let's say you make it successful, you make it big in your field or whatever, you're now high status. You have people, praising you. You are spoiled for choice now. Like you've always been working for. All that self-improvement stuff is like, well, now you have everything you're working for. You have the abundance of choice. You have abundance of success. So, yeah, there's going to be conflicts in the relationship because now your woman is going to see you like, oh, crap. Like, now he has options, like way too many options, and now there's jealousy, and now there's fighting. And, dude, Robin Williams, I watched his documentary, really cool documentary. His first woman was fine with it. like he got all of his success after putting in the work, and he started taking off. And she said, like, they interview her, his first wife, and she's like, I mean, you know, like, talking about how he's very sociable and how he loved women. She's like, as long as he came home at the end of the night, like, just kind of like accepting, like, I don't really care what he does as long as he comes home. And like, it's just like she's okay with sharing her man, which is weird personally, but whatever.
I don't know. I guess it kind of makes sense to a degree, though, that, like, I don't understand how she would rationalize it, but I would almost wonder if it's kind of the idea of, like, well, it doesn't matter. I get to enjoy the money. Like, I still get to be able to take care of my things at the end of the day, as long as, like, because, like, there's some people, like, that will accept cheating in the relationship as long as it's not, like, emotional cheating. Like, there are some people that will just accept physical cheating, but, like, you take it too far once you start sharing your personal life with that person, because that shows, like, a connection of love. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
I think it's like,
I think it comes down to payout, though, is it's just like he put in the work. I was with him during those hard times. I'm getting my things out of the relationship, even if it's not love anymore. I sacrificed so that he could get there.
Well, and also, like, it could be like she doesn't want to be alone and she just likes him as a person. Like, because I knew an old couple who said the same thing. The guy wasn't a millionaire or anything, but I was talking to his wife. He was away flirting, and she's like, well, as long as I just tell him the same thing every night, you know, and I just always say the same thing as long as he comes home at night. And I'm like, it's like, is it just kind of like you kind of forfeit when you get that age? Is it like what happened? Like, what is it? Like,
I don't know, bro. I mean, it could just be the old style, the old way that it is. I mean,
maybe they were just, you know, that couple just could have been swingers.
Well, that, but also just like how, like, sexual advances on women from men were just more accepted. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, my mom was we were talking about the Me Too movement, and she was talking about how much it's actually, she was like, I don't think the girls of these, the young girls of this generation realize how much that actually helps women. She was like, she's like, even in the even in the 80s, I think she said, she was like, you know, a sexual advance took place in your workplace or at a social event or something by a man. She was like, you usually just kept your mouth shut and accepted it. And I mean, the 80s was not that long ago. So, I mean, it could just be something like that, just that mindset, just forward on, you know, like, oh, he's my husband, takes care of me, it's all right, you know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there could be a little bit of that, you know, but then also there's like the reverse effect too of like, now it's like, as a guy, you are afraid to pursue or to approach because you don't want to get Me Too, even though you're not doing that, even though you're not making quid pro quo statements like, you do this, I'll give you this. There's none of that. It's like, you're just afraid of like, if I say the wrong thing or if she doesn't find you attractive, you're about to get blasted. Cause like,
yeah,
dude, like I like a couple, like probably like 9 months ago at this point, I hit up some chick. We started talking. It wasn't smooth. I was like, it was not smooth. Whatever I said, I don't remember what I said, but I know it wasn't smooth. It's stupid. It's like a 1 in 10 chance of working. Thought I was attractive. It worked. Literally the next day, some other guy messaged her. She blasted him all over Facebook. She just didn't find him attractive. He didn't say anything much different than I said, but she just went on a tirade about how ugly he is. How dare he even attempt at approaching her? And she was asking him that if you're ever going to speak to me again, you're going to pay me because you're not worth my time. Like, dude, she went off, and I was
Good
like,
God,
that could have been me.
That's a double standard, dude. That's the what's the name of that guy? That guy that killed all the women. What's that dude's name? What is that dude's name?
Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy. I feel like we should call that the Ted Bundy effect. Like, as long as they see you in an attractive light, they're like, I'll just accept what he's telling me right now. I mean, that's almost human nature. Like, if someone gives you wrong information, and like, say you were attracted to them, you'd be like, well, I guess I'll let it slide. It wasn't that bad. You know, like, really, like, I feel like people do that. I mean,
I just felt I felt bad for the guy because I was like, dude, like, if you're not attracted to him, like, you could have just left it at that, like, no thanks, or you could have just not replied. Like, to go and blast him on Facebook, put his info out there, tell him that he's gonna pay you if you ever want to speak to him. Like, I was like, dude, like, this is why guys are scared to, like, even say something or shoot the shot sometimes, because they're like, I don't know what the chances are of this person just. I'm not attractive to them, and some stupid stuff like this is gonna happen.
And now because social media, you can be labeled, and people will be like, "Oh, well, I saw you on that post." And because, like Clayton said, your social circles, or especially with social media, everyone knows everything in the social circle and even outside that circle.
Yeah, I was like, poor guy. I'm glad it wasn't me. Jesus, like now he's like gonna be scared to talk to someone for years. Like, wow, like okay. Now, for people like him, become incels. That's how that happens. Mm-hmm. That's how that happens.
Hey, what?
Incels.
All right. Boys. Do y'all have anything else y'all want to talk about? Are y'all feeling good?
I'm good, brother.
Personally, yeah. I mean, dude, like, okay, so this lady in California, there's a $19 million lottery. No, it's like more. There's like 22 something.
Oh, yes.
So let me pull up the number again. $26 million lottery. Okay. The gas station, they know which gas station sells the winning ticket. So she washed it in her jeans, though. So the lottery does have rules that they need proof that you had the ticket, something like a picture of it, which no one takes a picture of their lottery ticket, you know what I mean? Unless you find out that you won later. But she swears up and down it was her because she's the only person that lost her ticket after, the fact. So they're going to have to get like security footage and all this stuff. But there's also skin in the game for the store to prove it, because if that store sold the winning ticket, the store gets a $130K bonus. So there is skin in the game for everyone to get it.
So they're like, yeah, she definitely came here and bought it. If I was a store, I'd be like, right. Here's my security tapes. Here's the receipt.
Well, let's go. Here, like, I don't know. I haven't bought lottery tickets, like, except for like scratchers and stuff like that. Do they get like a receipt? Like, they don't get a copy, do they, when they pick the numbers?
I actually don't know. I only do scratch offs. I don't do like the Mega Millions or anything, so I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I think you get like a little tag, and then you have to wait for him to call it out. I don't know if you get a receipt.
Well, like, what I'm saying is, like, does the gas station get, like, do they have a system that proves it? Like, if Devin says they know exactly, like, they know which one sold the winning ticket, like, I guess they must have some sort of system, but I wonder how they would have to find out, like, that was the exact ticket sold at this exact time. Like, I wonder what the record system's actually like on it.
And well, it probably wouldn't be part of. Yeah, it probably wouldn't be part of the store. It'd be part of like the, like when you walk in the gas station, there's that big thing. You can go put money in it, click one, and it falls out. That's their system. That's not the gas station system. Like, that's the lottery. Well, the same thing on the back when they go back and they scan it, and either goes dun 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 or it goes boom. Like, it's letting you know that ticket's been scanned. It's a winner or loser.
The lottery, the gas station clerk can sell you a ticket as well.
No, yeah,
they do the machines so, like, some places, but
you're saying how do they track it? Their machines are already in each location.
Not just the blue machine. I'm saying, like, even when the cash register POS generates that number, there's some way it has to link to the lottery system, because they always know. Because anytime there's a winner, they're like, we know somebody in North Carolina won, or we know someone in San Francisco won. We're just waiting for it to be claimed, because they know where the ticket was sold. Right. They know where it was sold. They know if a winning ticket's out there, because there's some linking system that sends it back to, like,
so it got pinned.
Here's how. Right. And there's one person who destroyed their ticket on accident. She's like, hoping it's her, but they're gonna have to figure out how to identify it.
My thing is, how does she know she's the one?
Right.
They're
gonna have to prove it. They have to figure out how to prove it. going to take dates and times and stuff, but also like,
how long can they put it on hold for? Because don't they do that drawing like every week?
How long can they put it on hold? Well, also my other question is like, it's also hard to, because some of those or many places I go, you can't buy them on credit because typically you can't buy. It's like it's fake money buying fake money, and they don't allow that. So it's like you have to use cash or debit. So like if they have like some type of, if you paid cash, that makes it harder. Honestly, that makes it harder in a way, unless they have the date and time it was generated. I don't know, but
I don't know. I feel like if it was date or time, though, like if it was that complex of a system, it'd be pretty easy for them to figure out, right? Because like it would be like, okay, well, we know the exact date and time it was sold. Go to this spot in your camera. This will show us who bought it. Like I feel like it would be so quick to find out.
So if the prize doesn't go claimed, the bulk cash prize, which is if you take the bulk all at once, it's 19.7 million as opposed to 26 million. If no one claims it, it goes to the California public school system, which is funny because it's like, if no one claims it, I guess we'll have to donate it to the school system.
The whole idea of the lottery is that it makes money anyways, right?
Yeah.
Because like all that, I'm pretty sure like the lottery is ran by the state and like it's tax dollars and stuff like that for it.
I've never paid tax on a ticket. It's usually exact.
What I'm saying is that money, like the money provided in like the jackpots in and of itself is like state money. The idea is that this many people are buying tickets trying to get it. They're always making a profit.
Well, the longer it goes, the higher the pot goes, because like there's so many people buying it. It's like you have a higher chance of dying on the way to getting your ticket than winning. Like that's always one of like the statistics that they're out there.
Dude, what's funny to me is how many people win the lottery and it ruins their lives.
Because is it weird? You are already bad with money and you are giving, and not just a life-changing amount of money, an amount of money that can create generational wealth and change the course of your family's lineage. You don't know what to do with it. They go broke.
It's that's also how many people come out of the woodwork at that point. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like how many
Everyone's
people?
Your cousin.
Yeah, everybody's gonna come out like, hey, you remember this? And you have to straight up tell them no, and then you have to deal with that many people that you knew like briefly that now just hate you.
Dude, this happened on my Facebook a couple years ago. I think probably quite a few years ago. Anyway, point is, someone on my Facebook claimed they won the lottery and was like, thank you so much to everyone. They made a big deal about it. And like 2 to 3 days went by, and then they admitted it was a prank. And they just kind of outed how like all of a sudden everybody was my friend again. All of a sudden, people I hadn't talked to in years needed something from me, and it was a fake post. And it was hilarious. It was a little social experiment this person decided to run, and it was hilarious because it's like, yeah, everyone's your friend all of a sudden. Mm. And yeah, that is so weird, dude. I remember, and like even big success, like I think it was a LeBron James interview. Like they asked him of like, so because you can just look up these athletes and see how much they make. It's public information. It's multi-millions a year or season, really. And like they asked him of like, so did you how do you handle, everyone in your life knows how much money you make. You're multi-millionaire, like do you pay all these people back or what? And he was kind of like no, like this is my success. Like just because you let me sleep on your couch once doesn't mean I owe you millions of dollars. And it was kind of like it's an interesting debate. Who do you help? Where do you draw the line on how much you help them? Like how much is too much? Because like I would want to help. I would want to help my family, but where do you draw the line? Mm-hmm. Where do you go from like I gave you $1 million? Well, you have 27 million. Okay, Like, you know what I mean? Like, where do you draw the line?
Oh, I already.
Is it nobody gets it? Just nobody gets it. Make it fair.
Yep, that's how I do it. I don't care who you are. You're not getting it. Like, I know I'm burning bridges on every side, but like at the end of the day, like, nah, you're not touching my money. I'm sorry. If I decide to give you money, it's gonna be because you didn't approach me and I see that you need it. It's not gonna be because you claim you need it. Like, if you come to me with your hand out, you're not getting anything. If I look at you and I notice that you need it and you're not saying anything, guess who's gonna wake up with a couple G's slipped into their mailbox that just magically got there? Like, you know what I mean? Like, something like that. Like, it's gonna be. And like, the other thing is too, like, I want to remain anonymous. Like, if I collect it, like, I don't want anyone to know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not advertising that. Like, oh, we want you to take a picture. Like, I forget who it was. There was like 2 dudes who were best friends who won it, and they decided to split it. Well, they both, like, when they did it, their only condition was, you will not publicize our name, you will not say who we are, and if you want to pick, like, they were like, well, you have to take a picture. They're like, okay, we're wearing balaclavas then.
Dude, I can just picture, like, you're like, I don't want anybody to know. It's like, we come over one night, you have a shark aquarium, you have a Lamborghini. There's like, you're just like, I don't want anyone to know, but it's like your lifestyle just keeps going like
so
up
like,
and up and
here's
up.
the difference. Like, if I did that and that were to happen, I would just lie and be like, oh, I had something like this pay off, so I'm just kind of treating myself a little bit.
A little bit.
Crypto. People won't question it. Crypto. Oh, okay. Crypto. Dude, but like, that's the thing, because like, it's so, like, let's say you do help. That is the other problem of, like, I'm like, well, I should pay off this person's house. Well, I should pay off this person's car. Where do you draw the line? Because now everybody's itemizing everything they did for you in their life. They're like, well, how come you gave so and so $20,000? I did more than that. You only gave me 18. You should give me 22. Like, everyone starts itemizing everything they gave you. So it's like, what do you, like, where do you?
Nobody's getting anything. Okay, I'm playing hardball.
Make it fair.
I'm sorry, Devin. You have a great business idea, but you're not getting my money. Oh, I'm sorry, Quentin.
Oh, yeah.
I know you really want to travel the world. Guess what? Not on my dime. Like, dude, I'm going hard.
Can I at least get a gaming PC?
Nope.
We'll keep it at your house. Nope. I just come over to dang it.
We'll alternate weekends.
I'll buy you a Game Boy.
Alternate weekend. Hey, I'll take it.
Like, do that. Get everyone like a $10 Starbucks gift card. Like, all right, we're all square, guys. Leave me alone.
Everybody's even.
No, get everyone a $10 gift card to like a corner
like
store,
iTunes or something like
a
that.
Different state.
A Stadia.
Around a state.
Get them like
Google Stadia card.
Get them like something for like Zune, like being able to purchase music on like a Zune. Like something that nobody can use and has no value to anyone.
You basically just took a match to your money in front of them.
Mm-hmm. I'll burn it all down.
That's the note you attach to all of it. Like, just so everyone knows, we're all on the same playing field. I did give you something. Here it is. I'm keeping the receipt just in case you want to bring it up. I did give you something.
Go keep the receipt.
Well, like my thing is like an argument of entitlement and stuff like that. Like, dude, you're not entitled to any of this.
No one is except you.
Mm-hmm. But I also feel like it comes down to like the number one thing that kind of happens is like if you earn the money, you earned it and you have a feeling that no one else is entitled to it. You know how much work you put in for it. Whereas when you just get it on a whim like that, you didn't earn it. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't think you ever feel like the money is ever really yours because you didn't earn it.
That's the other thing too. Like,
guilt.
If you are like a LeBron James, it's like you ran, like you put in all the work and you slowly built that, and now you're worth that much. Like, you just tomorrow you won $26 million. Like, okay,
I mean, do a pay plan with that.
Yeah, it's like, see, do you do the pay plan or do you take the bulk?
I have to do a pay plan just because I know myself, so I just wouldn't want all that at once.
So for me personally, I think I take the bulk and then just I just buy a home outright, and then I just retire. I just keep to myself, enjoy the little hobbies I have, maybe keep my job to keep me busy, but have the ability to walk away from the table anytime they make me upset.
They would, dude, as a multi-millionaire, it takes 5 minutes to get upset. It would take 5 minutes to get upset enough. Like, as soon as the first thing didn't work, like, even if the door slightly jammed, you'd be like, that's it.
I'm done.
I'm done.
See, like, I'm not saying that bad, but, like, all it would take is just one heated customer, and I would just be like, I have too much money for this, and just walk away.
I would take the bulk. I'd take the bulk, and yeah, I'd probably buy like 5 or 6 properties. Get them all rentals working, running. Maybe buy a little like triplex. Get some good rental income, so it's like I have that money flowing. And I'd probably seclude myself too. Build myself a little backyard skate park like Shane O'Neill.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Be like, hey man, I'm good.
Here's the thing: you build it in a warehouse in your backyard. That's the trick.
You
do it because you can lock it out. Nobody knows what's in that warehouse but you and the people you let into the warehouse, so you don't have to worry about people breaking in for insurance and stuff like that and getting hurt. Because I think that was his biggest problem, is that it was open so everyone could see what it was. You do a nice warehouse in the back. You don't tell anyone what's in there. You just have your buddies come over, have a good time. And then on top of that too, oh, it's hot in here? Well, let me kick down the AC. You know what I mean? Like, it's too cold in here. Like, I'm too tight. Yep. All right, let me heat it up a little bit.
Dude, yeah. That, like a little mini fantasy factory in your backyard, that would be dope.
Mm-hmm. All right, boys. Where can they find us, Quentin?
They can find us at NobodyNamedKevin podcast on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, and YouTube.
All right. Well, this has been Nobody Named Kevin. Thank you for listening. Remember, like, comment, and subscribe.